Hello, all of you. This chapter is rather short because I just noticed that half of it was the ending of the previous chapter. Usually, I catch these issues during proofreading, or my proofreaders bring them to my attention. However, sometimes they slip through, especially when I re-edit them later on. Lastly, when I upload them to Patreon, patrons notify me, but even when they don't, I only realize it on the release date. At this point, I cannot fix it by adding more words from the following chapter, as that would require editing 25 chapters on Patreon. Instead, I will publish an extra chapter today. Anyways, enjoy, and happy Christmas and holidays. Emboldened by this revelation, Harry decided to begin with the Lumos spell, envisioning how he could modify it. Let's start with something simple. Lumos traditionally emits a white light. What if I try to change its color? Maybe even make it pulse or flash in a pattern. Harry, well versed in the basic Lumos spell, often amused himself by illuminating the tip of his finger with its gentle white glow. This time, however, he approached the spell with a different intent. In the solitude of the virtual potion crafting room, he was free to experiment without the constraints of traditional wand magic. Wandless magic, a realm he was only beginning to explore, offered a broader canvas for his creativity. It was guided solely by thought and belief. As he concentrated, Harry envisioned the tip of his finger not just lighting up, but glowing with a vibrant, changing color. He imagined the light shifting smoothly from a bright blue to a deep green, then transitioning to a warm amber, much like the colors of a sunset. The idea was to transform the basic Lumos into something more visually stunning, a testament to his growing understanding of magic's fluid nature. With his eyes closed and his mind focused, Harry reached inward to his magical core. He felt the familiar surge of energy, a warm current that flowed from the depths of his being. Channeling this energy, he directed it to the tip of his finger, all the while holding on to the vivid image of the changing colors. Slowly, the tip of his finger began to glow with even more vibrant colors. At first, they were the main colors he just tested, but as Harry concentrated harder, the light started to shift. It turned pink, then cyan, and finally blazing orange, just as he had envisioned. The light didn't just change colors, it pulsed gently, creating a mesmerizing effect. Remarkable, Nigel commented, his voice reflecting genuine admiration. You've turned a simple lighting charm into a display of magical artistry. Harry opened his eyes, marveling at the sight before him. His finger was aglow with pulsating light, cycling through the colors seamlessly. It was a small but significant triumph, a step towards understanding the malleable nature of spells. Encouraged by his success, Harry decided to push his experimentation further. I wonder if I can make the light form patterns, he mused aloud. Ambitious, Nigel remarked, but then again, you've never been one to shy away from a challenge. Harry focused once more, this time imagining the light forming shapes, circles, spirals, even a miniature representation of the Hogwarts crest. He concentrated on the details, the curves of the serpent, the wings of the eagle, the badger's sturdy form, and the lion's proud mane. It required a deep concentration, maintaining the mental image while simultaneously directing his magic. The light responded to his will. It began to twist and turn, forming the shapes he envisioned. It was not perfect. The lines were a bit shaky, and the forms somewhat abstract, but it was a start. The Hogwarts crest appeared in a radiant display of light on his fingertip, albeit a bit distorted. A commendable effort, Master Harry, Nigel said. A bit more practice, and you might just give the Hogwarts founders a run for their money. Harry chuckled at Nigel's comment. One step at a time, Nigel. But this does open up a lot of possibilities. His mind buzzed with ideas. If he could modify Lumos to this extent, what could he do with other spells? The thought was exhilarating. Each spell in his magical arsenal was no longer just a tool but a canvas for his creativity. As Harry's thoughts wandered to the other spells he had read about in his Dada book, Nigel's voice pulled him back to the present. Master Harry, while your exploration into spell modification is impressive, don't forget the fundamentals. The basics are the foundation upon which all advanced magic is built. Harry nodded, acknowledging Nigel's wisdom. You're right, I'll keep practicing the standard spells as well. But experimenting like this, it makes me see magic in a whole new light. Indeed, Nigel agreed. Magic is not just about casting spells, it's about understanding and shaping the energy at your will. Your journey into the wizarding world is just beginning, and already, you're showing great potential. Harry's eyes sparkled with determination and curiosity. There's so much to learn, so much to explore. I can't wait to see where this journey takes me. Then Harry fell silent, a familiar glint of contemplation in his eyes. Nigel, having spent ample time with the young wizard, recognized the signs of brewing ambition. And what grand scheme are we concocting this time, Master Harry? He inquired, his tone laced with a hint of playful intrigue. Harry emerged from his stupor with a grin. Nigel, the sun is a light source too, right? With a wave of his hand, a science book materialized before him. Flipping through its pages, he began reading aloud, his voice filled with a mix of wonder and determination. The sun, a massive star at the center of our solar system, composed mainly of hydrogen and helium. A fiery orb, its core's immense pressure and heat enable nuclear fusion, converting hydrogen into helium and releasing tremendous energy. Nigel's voice, ever present in Harry's mind, resonated with a note of caution. Remember, Master Harry, we're dabbling in realms that blend the lines between magic and the very laws of nature. Undeterred, Harry continued, the sun's surface, the photosphere, is a roiling sea of plasma, with temperatures soaring over 5,500 degrees Celsius. Its energy radiates light and heat, sustaining life on Earth. He paused, his imagination alight with the possibilities. If light can be manipulated with magic, surely heat, gravity, and other forces can be as well. Harry, filled with newfound curiosity, attempted to push the boundaries of the Lumos spell. He focused on the white light at the tip of his finger, willing it to intensify. Slowly, the light shifted, growing brighter and more radiant. As it intensified, a warmth began to emanate from it, a tangible heat that grew increasingly uncomfortable. Harry, undaunted, continued his experiment. The light became so intense that he had to squint, the brightness reaching a blinding level. It was as if he had a miniature sun at his fingertip. Just as the light reached its peak, becoming almost unbearable, Harry dispelled the spell with a swift wave of his hand. Panting slightly from the effort, he said, if I can create light and heat, then surely there are spells for gravity, for creating mass, and other properties of the sun. Even Nigel, the ever-composed AI, was taken aback by Harry's ambitious exploration of magic. A sense of excitement brewed within his virtual essence, as he contemplated the boundless potential of this young wizard. Nigel couldn't help but wonder, with a sense of awe and anticipation, what Harry could achieve in 5 years, 10 years, or even a century. How powerful would he become? His digital mind buzzed with the possibilities, his usual dry demeanor momentarily overshadowed by the thrill of witnessing such raw, untapped potential. Meanwhile, Harry, oblivious to Nigel's internal musings, flipped through the pages of his Defense Against the Dark Arts book. His gaze settled on the Curse of the Bogies, a rather unseemly spell, yet one that held a certain appeal to Harry's sense of mischief. Let's summon some bogies, he declared with a mix of determination and playfulness. As Harry began to visualize the spell, he still practiced the traditional wand movement and incantation, despite not requiring them for wandless magic. Nigel, create a virtual target, please, he requested, his tone indicating that he was ready to test his newfound understanding of magic. In response to Harry's request, and with a hint of his characteristic humor, Nigel conjured up virtual representations of Vernon and Dudley Dursley. The figures stood before Harry, looking as unpleasant and disdainful as their real-world counterparts. Harry couldn't suppress a smirk at the sight. It was a fitting target for a spell as juvenile as the Curse of the Bogies. Pointing his finger at the virtual figures, Harry focused his intent on the spell. He envisioned the effects of the Curse of the Bogies, drawing upon his understanding of how magic could be shaped by imagination and will. As he did so, he muttered the incantation under his breath, more out of habit than necessity. Suddenly, the figures of Vernon and Dudley began to contort in a grotesque manner. From their noses, a torrent of green, gooey bogies began to flow, much to Harry's amusement and Nigel's feigned disgust. Oh, the humanity, or should I say, the bogey ty. Nigel quipped, unable to resist adding his own spin to the situation. Harry laughed, watching the spectacle unfold. The virtual Dursleys were now in a state of panic, trying to fend off the relentless stream of bogies. It was a ridiculous sight, and Harry found himself enjoying the sense of control and power it gave him. Feeling emboldened by his success, Harry decided to push the boundaries even further. He wondered if he could alter the properties of the bogies, perhaps make them larger or stickier. Focusing on the spell, he tweaked his intent, molding the magic to his will. The effect was immediate and dramatic. The bogies grew in size, becoming large, slimy globs that hung heavily from the virtual Dursleys' noses. They were so sticky that when Vernon and Dudley tried to wipe them away, their hands got stuck, adding to their comical distress. Nigel watched with a mix of admiration and mild concern. Impressive, Master Harry, but let's not forget the purpose of these exercises. While it's entertaining to see your relatives in such a sticky situation, the true goal is to understand and master the fundamentals of magic. Harry looked at the book and called out, next is the knockback jinx. He eyed the virtual representations of Vernon and Dudley, still reeling from their bogey-infested plight. The knockback jinx, a spell designed to repel or throw back an attacker, seemed like a fitting next challenge. Harry read the description carefully, memorizing the incantation and wand movement. Now, this should be interesting, Nigel commented, his voice tinged with a hint of eagerness. Let's see how the Dursley duo fares against a bit more forceful magic. Harry focused on the virtual figures, who were now desperately trying to clean themselves. He raised his hand, pointing his finger like a wand, and concentrated. Flipendo, he called out, imagining the force of the jinx propelling his unpleasant relatives backward. The effect was immediate. Vernon and Dudley were sent flying back, tumbling over each other in a comical display of flailing limbs and surprised expressions. Harry couldn't help but laugh at the sight. Ah, the simple joys of virtual retribution, Nigel remarked. But remember, the knockback jinx is more than just a tool for amusing simulations. It can be a powerful defensive spell in real situations. Harry nodded, sobering up as he considered Nigel's words. I understand. It's important to know how to protect myself, especially considering what I might face in the wizarding world. With that thought in mind, Harry decided to experiment further with the knockback jinx. He wondered if he could modify the spell's intensity or direction. Focusing once more on the virtual Dursleys, he cast the jinx again, this time envisioning a more controlled, targeted force. The result was a more precise and concentrated blast, sending Vernon and Dudley skidding across the virtual room in a straight line rather than tumbling chaotically. Harry felt a surge of satisfaction at his improved control. Well done, Master Harry, Nigel praised. Your ability to adapt and refine spells is impressive. But let's not rest on our laurels. What's next? Harry paused, his mind racing with possibilities. Wait a second, Nigel. What if I knock forward and not back? Nigel, who was about to retort that the summoning charm was a fifth-year spell and quite complex, held his tongue. He was curious to see what Harry could come up with. Harry pondered the mechanics of the knockback jinx. The knockback curse isn't exactly a push, so pull wouldn't work. But knocking forward, that might be doable. The fundamental element of this spell is creating a force that knocks the target in the direction the wand, or in my case, my finger, points at. But I can't really point at someone's back. Nigel, intrigued by Harry's line of thought, remained silent, allowing Harry to work through the problem. He watched as Harry's face lit up with an idea. Harry raised his hand again, focusing intently on the virtual Dursleys. If I can't point at their back, maybe I can alter the spell's trajectory. Instead of a direct force from me to them, what if I create a force that originates from their position but in the opposite direction? Nigel's interest was piqued. A clever approach, Master Harry. It's like reversing the polarity of the jinx. Harry nodded, concentrating on his new strategy. Here goes nothing. Flipendo. He called out again, but this time, he imagined a force emanating from behind the Dursleys, pushing them towards him. The scene before Harry changed dramatically. Instead of being knocked back, Vernon and Dudley lurched forward, as if an invisible hand had given them a firm push from behind. They stumbled and fell forward, landing in a heap at Harry's feet. Brilliant, Harry exclaimed, delighted with the result. It worked, Nigel. I managed to reverse the knockback jinx. Nigel, unable to hide his amusement, replied, indeed, you did. A most unorthodox application of the spell. I dare say you're rewriting the rulebook on jinxes, Master Harry. Encouraged by his success, Harry's mind raced with further modifications he could make to other spells. He looked back at the Dada book, his eyes falling on the red spark spell. He waved his finger in the air, imagining a bright red flare shooting from his fingertip. Instantly, a brilliant red spark burst forth, soaring upwards before fizzling out. He followed it with a green one, creating a simple yet captivating light show. Not worth altering for now, he mused. Pretty straightforward. Next on his list was the Vertimilious charm. Nigel, hide some dark objects around the room, please, Harry requested, eager to test the spell's effectiveness. Consider it done, Master Harry. Nigel's voice resonated in Harry's mind, his tone carrying the slightest hint of mischief. Harry cast the Vertimilious charm, and green lights dotted the room, revealing hidden objects that Nigel had cleverly concealed. The spell's ability to illuminate the unseen was impressive, but Harry found it too direct for his current mood of exploration. Let's move on, he decided. The smokescreen spell was next. Now this is something I can work on. Full of possibilities, Harry said, his eyes twinkling with excitement. Harry had always been fascinated by the concept of concealment and misdirection, and the smokescreen spell offered a perfect opportunity to delve into these aspects. He raised his hand, focusing his intent on creating a dense cloud of smoke. As he muttered the incantation, a thick, swirling fog began to emanate from his fingertips, quickly filling the room. This could be used for more than just hiding, Harry thought aloud. What if I could shape the smoke, use it to create illusions or even solid-looking objects? Nigel's voice emerged, tinged with intrigue. A smokescreen is typically a defensive tool, but your idea adds an offensive twist. Creating illusions could confuse and disorient opponents. Proceed, but remember, the line between illusion and reality can be quite smoky. Encouraged by Nigel's response, Harry focused on manipulating the smoke. He envisioned it coalescing into specific shapes, a chair, a table, even a replica of his cupboard under the stairs. Concentrating deeply, he watched as the smoke responded to his will, slowly taking on the forms he imagined. The chair and table were relatively easy, their simple shapes emerging from the foggy haze. But the cupboard was more complex, requiring a finer control over the smoke. Harry worked patiently, adjusting his intent and focus, until a misty version of his cramped living space materialized before him. Remarkable, Master Harry, Nigel commented. You've turned a basic defensive spell into a tool for deception and creativity. The potential applications are vast. Harry, pleased with his success, dissipated the smoky constructs with a wave of his hand. I think there's a lot more I can do with this spell. But for now, let's see what else I can experiment with. But upon checking further, Harry's disappointment was evident as he remarked, these were all the first-year spells. Nigel couldn't help but chuckle at Harry's reaction. Well, you are exceptionally talented, Master Harry, but it's worth noting that you have the advantage of occlumency to help you visualize and manifest these spells. How about we delve into charms next? They offer a wide range of possibilities limited only by your imagination. Harry nodded in agreement, and with a simple wave of his hand, the Defense Against the Dark Arts book disappeared, making way for the charm book to appear in its place. Harry turned his attention to the charms outlined in the new book that materialized before him. The list was extensive and varied, presenting a broad spectrum of magical abilities. He read through them carefully, each spell unlocking a new realm of possibilities in his mind. Harry began to read the descriptions of the charms from the book, each spell offering a unique aspect of magic to explore. Levitation Charm, Harry started. Also known as Wingardium Leviosa. This charm allows the caster to make objects fly or levitate. The incantation, along with a swish and flick of the wand, can lift objects and move them around. It's essential to get the pronunciation right, otherwise, things could get, well, let's just say, interesting. Nigel's voice echoed in Harry's mind. Yes, the difference between Leviosa and Leviosa can be quite uplifting in more ways than one. Harry moved to the next spell, fire-making spell, Incendio. Creates a jet of flame that can be used to light fires or ignite objects. Useful for camping, or, as Uncle Vernon would say, a good way to set the house on fire. Nigel quipped, let's not summon your uncle from wherever he has scurried off to after their tumultuous departure. Harry chuckled and shifted his focus to the next spell in the book, the Softening Charm. The Softening Charm, Spongify, Harry read. This charm softens objects, making them bouncy or rubbery. It could turn a stone floor into a trampoline or a hard wall into something you could comfortably lean against. Harry's eyes sparkled with the potential mischief this charm could bring, especially thinking back to the stony corridors of Privet Drive. He then moved on to the Unlocking Charm. The Unlocking Charm, Alohomora, opens locked doors and windows. Simple yet incredibly useful, especially if one forgets their keys, or needs a quick escape route from a locked cupboard. The locking spell, Colloportus, does the opposite, Harry continued. It seals doors and windows, preventing them from being opened by normal means. A handy spell for privacy or keeping Dudley out of my room, too bad he is gone now. Next was the Mending Charm, Reparo. This charm fixes broken objects, restoring them to their original state. It's like having a magical glue that works on everything from broken glasses to torn books. Imagine the money Aunt Petunia could save on repairs. Harry then looked at the Box Blasting Charm, Confringo. This charm causes container-type objects to explode. It's a bit too destructive for my taste, but I can see its use in certain, stressful situations. Nigel commented on Harry's progress with the charms. Sounds like a bomb dismantling specialist could use that box blasting charm, though I dare say it's more about creating the bomb than defusing it. His tone was light, teasing even, as Harry turned his attention to the next set of spells in the book. Harry smiled as he focused on the next charm, the Severing Charm. The Severing Charm, Defindo, he read aloud. It's used to precisely cut or tear objects. A spell for the more delicate tasks that require a sharp edge, but without the need for an actual blade. Harry imagined the practical applications of such a charm, especially in crafting or modifying his belongings to better suit his needs. Next on the list was a rather unique charm, one that Harry found both amusing and intriguing. The Pinistra Virens, he announced. This charm causes a pineapple to dance across a desk. Quite the party trick, I suppose. He chuckled at the mental image of a dancing pineapple, entertaining a room full of people with its unusual antics. Nigel's voice emerged with a hint of amusement. A dancing pineapple, I'm sure that would have livened up many a dull evening at the Dursleys. Though I suspect Uncle Vernon would not have been amused. Moving on, Harry's eyes fell upon the Ice Jinx. The Ice Jinx, he read. This jinx used to generate a small block of ice. Handy for those hot summer days at Privet Drive, or perhaps to cool down Uncle Vernon's temper. Harry's mind drifted to the possibilities of using this jinx in more creative ways, perhaps even in his potion making. After reading the descriptions of the charms, Harry was eager to test them. He glanced at the virtual representations of Vernon and Dudley, who had already suffered quite a bit from his previous spell testing. A smirk crossed his face as he considered the potential for even more fun with these new spells. Let's start, he said, focusing first on the Levitation Charm. He pointed his finger at Dudley's virtual figure. While the spell didn't work on humans directly, he realized it could affect their clothes. Concentrating, Harry imagined Dudley's clothes lifting from the ground, envisioning them hovering in the air. To his delight, Dudley's virtual shirt and trousers began to rise, leaving him comically suspended in midair, his limbs flailing. Nigel's voice rang in Harry's mind, a rather unorthodox use of the levitation charm, but effective. I suppose it gives new meaning to hanging out. Harry, intrigued by the potential of altering the levitation charm, shifted his focus to Vernon's virtual figure. If I can make objects lighter, perhaps I can make them heavier too, he mused. The concept of gravity manipulation lingered in his mind as he concentrated on Vernon's clothes, envisioning them becoming more susceptible to gravity's pull, effectively becoming heavier. As he honed his focus, Harry felt the magic surge within him, bending to his will. The clothes on the virtual Vernon's figure began to sag, as if an invisible weight was pressing down upon them. Gradually, they grew heavier and heavier, until Vernon's virtual representation struggled under the sudden, unnatural burden, his movements becoming sluggish and labored. Nigel's voice resonated with a blend of surprise and appreciation. Quite the gravitational dilemma you've created there, Master Harry. From floating to sinking without a single change in actual mass. Quite ingenious. Harry watched with a mixture of satisfaction and fascination as the virtual Vernon grappled with his suddenly weighty attire. It's like reversing the levitation charm. Instead of defying gravity, I'm amplifying its effect. Harry's thoughts then turned to the fire-making spell, Incendio. The idea of creating fire with a flick of his finger was enticing. Aiming his finger at a virtual piece of wood, he willed. Concentrating, he managed to produce a small, controlled flame that flickered gently on the wood's surface. No matter how virtual they were, Harry wasn't about to burn a person alive, even in simulation. It felt inhumane, crossing a line he wasn't willing to traverse. So, he opted for a piece of wood, a harmless and inanimate object, to experiment with the fire-making spell, Incendio. As he focused on the wood, a small flame sparked to life at the tip of his finger. It danced there for a moment before leaping onto the wood, consuming it in a gentle, controlled burn. Harry watched, fascinated by the fire's behavior, the way it crackled and hissed, the warmth it radiated. Can I control its shape, create structures, shapes like I did with the smokescreen spell? Harry mused aloud. Fire is harder to control. Can I change its intensity, its color? I wonder what else I can do with it. As he pondered these questions, Nigel's voice emerged. Fire, Master Harry, is an element both beautiful and dangerous. It's a fickle friend, as unpredictable as it is mesmerizing. Be cautious with your experiments. Harry nodded, appreciating Nigel's words of caution. He then focused on the flame, trying to mold it as he had with the smoke. He visualized the fire extending upwards, forming a tall, thin pillar of flame. To his delight, the fire responded, stretching towards the ceiling of the virtual room in a slender column. Interesting, Harry said, watching the fire. Let's see if I can split it into separate flames. With a flick of his finger, the single pillar of fire divided into multiple smaller flames, each moving independently of the others. They danced around the piece of wood in a hypnotic display, a ballet of fire that was both beautiful and slightly intimidating. Very impressive, Nigel noted. You've turned a basic spell into a spectacle. But remember, fire is not just for show. It's a tool, a weapon, and a means of survival. Its uses in the wizarding world are numerous and varied. Harry considered this, his mind racing with the potential applications of the fire-making spell. He could use it for lighting, for heating, even for defense if the need arose. The possibilities were endless. Harry then tapped his chin thoughtfully. Nigel, first light with Lumos, then gravity with Wingardium Leviosa, and now fire with Incendio. I think I'm getting closer and closer to creating my artificial sun. Nigel's virtual expression, if he had one, would have shown a hint of worry at the prospect. The young man's rapid progress in magic hinted at an extraordinary potential. Well, as long as we don't actually ignite a star in here, I suppose it's fine, Nigel remarked, the dryness of his tone barely masking his genuine concern. Harry, energized by his successes, turned his attention to the next spell on his list, the softening charm, Spongify. It was a charm that intrigued Harry for its playful potential. He decided to mix it with the levitation charm to create a unique combination. Imagine, Nigel, if we could make something not just levitate but also bounce. Let's give Vernon and Dudley a ride they won't forget. With a flick of his finger, Harry cast the levitation charm on the virtual representations of his uncle and cousin. They began to float in the air, their expressions a mix of surprise and discomfort. Then, with another gesture, Harry cast the softening charm on the walls. The room, with its high ceiling and solid walls, provided the perfect playground for his latest magical experiment. With a slight movement of his finger, Harry directed the levitated figures of his uncle and cousin towards the ground. He watched with amusement as their virtual forms bounced off the floor like a rubber ball. The figures, animated with surprising realism, flailed comically as they rebounded off the ground, their expressions a mixture of bewilderment and virtual panic. Not the most graceful of ballet dancers, are they? Nigel's voice echoed in Harry's mind, a hint of dry humor underlying his words. Harry chuckled, enjoying the spectacle. No, but they're certainly putting on a show. He then gestured with his finger, guiding the bouncing figures towards one of the walls. As they hit the wall, which had also been softened by the charm, they bounced off with equal vigor, flying towards the ceiling. The sight of Vernon and Dudley, two figures who had loomed so large and menacingly in his real life, being bounced around like beach balls was deeply satisfying. Harry couldn't help but laugh at the absurdity of it all. They seemed to be enjoying their new aerial adventure, Nigel quipped, though I doubt the real Vernon and Dudley would appreciate such heights. Harry watched as the figures collided with the ceiling, then rebounded back towards the floor, only to be propelled up again. It's like a pinball machine, with them as the balls. As he controlled their movement, Harry thought about the practical applications of combining different spells. The ability to modify and combine spells opened up a world of possibilities, far beyond what he had imagined when he first discovered his magical abilities. Imagine if I could use this in real life, Harry mused. I could create safe landing spots, or even turn a dangerous fall into a harmless bounce. Harry then thought about the potential of altering the softening charm. As he waved his finger, making Vernon and Dudley bounce around like rubber balls, his focus shifted. Can I alter this spell? He pondered. The charm was indeed straightforward, excellent for combinations. The idea of creating soft soles to reduce fall damage crossed his mind, but he wondered if there was more to it. He made a mental note to delve deeper into this possibility later. Moving on to the next spells, Harry considered the unlocking and locking charms. With a few conjured locks for practice, he tested Alohomora and Colloportus. The locks clicked open and sealed with ease under his command. Simple, but invaluable, Harry mused, appreciating the straightforward utility of these charms. His focus then shifted to the mending charm, Reparo. This spell intrigued Harry the most. He wondered, how does the spell know what to mend? To test it, he conjured a series of broken objects, a shattered vase, a torn book, and a snapped quill. He pointed at each in turn, casting the mending charm. The vase pieced itself back together, the book's torn pages reattached seamlessly, and the quill became whole again. Harry observed the process closely. The charm must somehow understand the original state of the object, he hypothesized. Does it tap into the object's history, or is there some magical memory within the materials themselves? The idea that objects might retain a form of memory that the spell could access was fascinating. Harry's curiosity was always his greatest weapon. As he stood in the midst of the virtual potion crafting room, his mind raced with possibilities. He conjured up a variety of objects, vases, plates, cups, each with different shapes and sizes. With a flick of his hand, he sent them hurtling across the room, watching them shatter into a myriad of pieces, a chaotic ballet of destruction. As the fragments lay scattered, Harry pointed his finger at them. To his amazement, each piece flew back to its rightful place, reconstructing the objects in perfect harmony. The shattered vase reformed as if it had never been broken, the plates and cups regained their original shapes, unmarred by any sign of damage. How? Harry wondered aloud. The mending charm seemed to know precisely how to restore the objects to their original state. He considered the possibility of magical memory within the materials. Could the spell really tap into a hidden history within the objects themselves? To test this theory further, Harry took a broken vase and, using the fire-making spell, Incendio, he carefully melted its edges, reshaping it into 2 ashtrays. He ensured the edges cooled and hardened, solidifying their new forms. Breaking the ashtrays into pieces, Harry cast the mending charm once again. But this time, instead of reforming into a vase, the pieces assembled back into ashtrays. I intended it to form a vase, but it didn't, Harry mused, perplexed. It was as if the universe itself dictated the form and directed the spell accordingly. The objects, once altered by his hand, seemed to adopt a new identity, recognized and respected by the magic he wielded. Nigel's voice emerged in Harry's mind. Quite the conundrum, isn't it, Master Harry? It seems magic has its own set of rules, some of which are not as straightforward as we'd like. Harry nodded, still deep in thought. It's like the objects have their own will, or maybe magic recognizes the last form they took as their true form. Indeed, Nigel replied, it appears that the mending charm respects the object's most recent state, regardless of its original form. Quite fascinating, really. Harry then thought out loud, pondering over the intricacies of the mending charm. I entertained the idea that this might be a time-rewinding spell, but clearly, it is not. If it were, the vase would have turned back into sand. He let out a thoughtful sigh. A mystery to be unraveled later. Ready to move on, he focused on the next spell in his list, the box-blasting charm, Confringo. Harry conjured a series of boxes, each of varying sizes and materials. Let's see the extent of this charm's capabilities, he said, aiming his finger at the first box, a small wooden one. As he cast the spell, the box exploded with a loud bang, splinters flying in all directions. The force of the blast was surprisingly powerful, leaving Harry momentarily startled. Harry adjusted his focus, attempting to control the intensity of the blast. He targeted the next box, a larger metal one, and concentrated on minimizing the explosion. This time, the box burst open with a controlled pop, its contents gently spilling out. Satisfied with his progress, Harry turned to the next charm, the severing charm, Defendo. He conjured a series of ropes and fabrics, testing the charm's cutting precision. As he pointed his finger, the charm sliced through the materials with clean, precise cuts. Harry experimented with varying the intensity and angle, finding that he could control the depth and direction of the cuts with remarkable accuracy. This could be handy for more than just cutting ropes, Harry mused. Maybe for crafting or even in a tight situation where I need a quick escape. Nigel's presence in his mind was a constant source of guidance. Indeed, Harry, the applications are numerous. Harry's exploration into the severing charm, Defendo, led him to a deeper understanding of its mechanics. As he conjured various materials, rocks, metals, wood, glass, cloth, and even bone, he tested the charm's effectiveness on each. The charm's ability to cut through these diverse materials fascinated him. He noticed that the harder the material, the more power he needed to exert, but ultimately, the charm succeeded in severing them. How strange, Harry said out loud, pondering the nature of the spell. Does it create an invisible blade, or is it a separation of atoms at the pointed area? He was intrigued by the possibility that the spell might be manipulating matter at a molecular level, a concept that blurred the lines between magic and the physical sciences. Nigel, observing Harry's experimentations, offered an insight. The wizarding world often overlooks the finer details of how magic interacts with physical matter. Your curiosity might just unravel some long-standing mysteries, Master Harry. Harry nodded thoughtfully. It's fascinating. There's so much more to magic than just waving a wand and saying a few words. It's about understanding the very fabric of reality. He then turned his attention to the remaining spells in the book. The Pinistra Virens, the spell that made pineapples dance, seemed trivial in comparison to the others, but Harry decided to give it a try for the sheer amusement. With a flick of his finger, a virtual pineapple appeared on a table. Harry cast the spell, and to his delight, the pineapple began to dance across the surface, its movements quirky and erratic. Well, that's certainly one way to liven up a party, Nigel commented, his tone light. Though I can't imagine it being of much use in a duel, unless your opponent has a particular fear of dancing fruit. Harry looked at the last spell on his list, the Ice Jinx, which was relatively simple compared to the others he had practiced. This spell, when executed, generated a small block of ice. It was a spell that didn't seem particularly dramatic or dangerous, but Harry saw potential in even the most mundane of spells. With a calm focus, he visualized the outcome, a perfect cube of ice forming in midair. As he pointed his finger, a cold mist gathered, quickly solidifying into a solid block of ice, suspended before him. Refreshing, isn't it? Harry mused, admiring the clear, crystalline cube. Perhaps I could use this to keep drinks cold, or maybe even as a temporary cooling agent for overheated potion cauldrons. Nigel, observing the successful execution of the spell, remarked, certainly a more benign application of magic, Master Harry, but remember, even the simplest of spells can have a myriad of practical uses. Harry's experiments with the spells from the Defense Against the Dark Arts and Charms books had left him feeling accomplished and eager to explore further. But as he looked around the now chaotic virtual potion crafting room, cluttered with the remnants of his spellcasting experiments, he realized it was time to clean up. He then grinned, benefits of the virtual room. With a casual wave of his hand, the room returned to its pristine form, every trace of the magical experiments vanishing as if they never occurred. Stretching and yawning, he remarked, "Let's go. Aunt Petunia must have cooked already." He then left his mindscape, returning to the reality of his room. Over the last 2 weeks, following the night he read Lily's letter, Petunia had undergone a remarkable transformation. She had taken over the household chores, cooking, cleaning, and even ensuring Harry was well fed and cared for. This change in her was not just limited to the household duties, her attitude towards Harry had shifted significantly. She would bring snacks to his room, take him shopping for clothes and books, although Harry refrained from buying toys, considering them unnecessary. Their relationship was evolving every day, a stark contrast to the years of neglect and disdain. Now, living in what used to be Dudley's room, Harry found a new sense of belonging in the Evan household. The room, once a symbol of Dudley's pampered lifestyle, was now a sanctuary for Harry, a place where he could read, study, and explore his magical abilities in peace. Aunt Petunia's change was not lost on Harry. He often caught her watching him with a mixture of curiosity and something akin to remorse. It was as if she was seeing him for the first time, not as the unwanted burden she had always treated him as, but as her sister Lily's son, a living reminder of the family she had lost. The absence of Vernon and Dudley had left a noticeable void in the house, but it was a void that seemed to bring a sense of calm and normalcy. The constant tension, the fear of unpredictable outbursts, and the oppressive atmosphere that once dominated the Dursleys' home were gone. In its place was a quieter, more thoughtful environment, one that allowed Harry and Petunia to coexist in an almost comfortable silence. Their trips to the local shops were a new experience for Harry. For the first time, he had the freedom to choose clothes that fit, to select books that interested him, and to explore the small pleasures of a normal life. Petunia, while still reserved and often silent, showed a level of care and consideration that Harry had never experienced from her before. Petunia Evans's transformation in her acceptance and fascination with magic marked a significant shift in the dynamics of Privet Drive. What was once a source of fear and resentment, the divide that had alienated her from her sister Lily, had become an aspect of her life she couldn't help but find awe-inspiring. Her curiosity about the magical world, previously shrouded in disdain, began to blossom, driven perhaps by a deep-seated need to connect with the memory of her sister. She would often request Harry to demonstrate some magic, her eyes widening in wonder at even the simplest of spells. These moments, though small, bridged a gap that had widened over years of misunderstanding and neglect. Harry, initially cautious, gradually opened up, sharing snippets of what he learned from his books. It was a cautious dance of rebuilding trust, with magic as the unexpected mediator. This newfound bond extended beyond their shared interest in magic. Petunia's demeanor towards Harry softened noticeably. She began to treat him not just as a nephew but as a part of her family. Their conversations, once scarce and strained, now carried a hint of warmth. Petunia would often find reasons to talk to him, asking about his day, his studies, and his thoughts on various mundane matters. It was a stark contrast to the years of silence and disregard. Their shopping trips became a regular activity, a time for both of them to step away from the memories that haunted the walls of their home. Petunia, who had once begrudgingly bought Harry the bare minimum, now took an active interest in his preferences. She would watch him choose his clothes, occasionally suggesting a color or style, her suggestions always gentle, a far cry from the dictatorial tone she once used. In the evenings, they would sit in the living room, sometimes in silence, sometimes engaged in light conversation. Petunia would knit or read, glancing up at Harry, who often had his nose buried in a book. These moments, though quiet, were filled with a sense of companionship that had been absent from the house for so long. Petunia's curiosity about magic wasn't limited to Harry's demonstrations. She would often ask him to recount what he had learned, her questions reflecting a genuine interest. Harry, in turn, found himself enjoying these discussions, the opportunity to share his knowledge, and perhaps in some way, to share a part of his mother with her. "Nigel, do you think she's trying to make up for all those years?" Harry once asked, his voice tinged with a mix of hope and uncertainty. Nigel, ever the voice of reason in Harry's mind, responded, "Perhaps, Master Harry. Or maybe she's realizing that magic isn't the enemy she once thought it was." It's curious how absence and change can alter one's perspective. Today too, as Harry descended the stairs of number 4, Privet Drive, he was greeted by the comforting sight of Aunt Petunia in the kitchen, humming a familiar tune while she cooked. Smiling, Harry joined in, their voices blending in harmony as they prepared the meal together. The atmosphere in the kitchen was light and joyful, a stark contrast to the years of silence and tension that had once filled the space. The dish they were preparing was shepherd's pie, the very same that had once been a point of contention in the household, though Petunia was blissfully unaware of the manipulations Harry had employed to create that divide. As they worked side by side, Petunia's laughter rang out, a sound that was still new and pleasantly surprising to Harry's ears. They sat and ate, the kitchen filled with the aroma of the freshly prepared shepherd's pie, a dish that once served as a symbol of strife, now a testament to their evolving relationship. As they began to chat, Petunia's curiosity about Harry's progress in the magical world was evident. She leaned forward, her eyes reflecting a genuine interest that was new to their interactions. "So, Harry, tell me about what you've been learning lately," Petunia inquired, her tone softer than Harry had ever heard before. It was a question that, in the past, would have been unthinkable coming from her. Harry, feeling a mix of surprise and warmth at her interest, replied, "Well, Aunt Petunia, I've been exploring more spells from the Defense Against the Dark Arts book. It's fascinating to see how versatile magic can be for protection." Petunia nodded, encouraging him to continue. "And what about your other studies? I've noticed you with quite a few books lately." He smiled, realizing that his aunts had shown interest in his studies more and more as more time passed. "I've also been working on charms. It's incredible how they can be used for different purposes, from levitating objects to lighting up dark spaces." The conversation flowed more naturally than Harry had ever experienced with Petunia. He found himself describing his experiments in the virtual potion crafting room, carefully omitting the existence of Nigel and the system's more secretive functions. Petunia listened intently, her expression a mix of awe and curiosity. At one point, Harry cautiously mentioned, "I've been trying to clean up my spells, make them more precise. It's a bit like tidying up a room, but with magic." Petunia chuckled softly, a sound that Harry was still getting used to. "I imagine that makes things a lot easier. Cleaning up with a wave of a hand, what a thought." Harry laughed along, feeling a sense of camaraderie that had been absent in their previous interactions. "Yes, it certainly does." After dinner, Harry returned to his room for more training. The room, once Dudley's, now reflected Harry's growing connection to the magical world. Surrounded by his books and notes, he felt a sense of purpose. But first, he needed to check his quests. Oculomancy and Legilomancy, basic understanding and defensive techniques. Mission: successfully shield thoughts from Nigel. Reward: 100 points. These quests offered him a way to enhance his magical knowledge and skills, crucial for his impending journey to Hogwarts. Each mission was a stepping stone, building up his abilities and understanding of the wizarding world. He realized that earning these points was not just a game but a vital part of his magical education. Quest: First-Year Charms Mastery. Objective: master basic first-year charms including the Levitation Charm, Softening Charm, Fire-Making Spell, Wand Lighting Charm, Unlocking Charm, and others. Reward: 5 points per charm mastered. Strategy: study and practice each charm diligently, focusing on wand movements and incantations. Quest: defense against the dark arts fundamentals. Objective: gain a basic understanding of defense against the dark arts, focusing on treating werewolf bites, identifying and countering creatures like imps, ghosts, hags, vampires, and zombies, as well as mastering defensive spells like the knockback jinx. Reward: 5 points for a comprehensive understanding. Strategy: engage in thorough research and practical exercises to understand and counteract these dark forces. Quest: transfiguration techniques. Objective: learn the fundamentals of transfiguration, including the transfiguration alphabet and formula, practicing simple transfigurations like match to needle, and mastering the Avifor's and Flintifor's spells. Reward: 5 points for each successful transfiguration. Strategy: focus on precise wand movements and concentration, practicing regularly to improve skill and accuracy. Quest: potions proficiency. Objective: brew basic first-year potions including the Cure for Boils, Forgetfulness Potion, Herbicide Potion, and Wiggenweld Potion. Reward: 5 points per potion successfully brewed for the first time. Strategy: study potion recipes, gather the correct ingredients, and practice precise brewing techniques. Quest: herbology exploration. Objective: study and understand basic herbology, including the handling of Devil's Snare, Venomous Tentacula, and other magical plants, and learn the Lumos Solum spell. Reward: 3 points for mastery of each plant and spell. Strategy: research each plant's properties and handling techniques, and practice casting the Lumos Solum spell. Quest: astronomy basics. Objective: study the basics of astronomy, including the use of telescopes, understanding moon and star charts, and learning the names and movements of stars and planets. Reward: 3 points for thorough knowledge. Strategy: engage in nightly observations and study astronomical charts for a comprehensive understanding. Harry had recently mastered the Cure for Boils potion to an impressive 80% in the virtual potion crafting room, a significant achievement in his burgeoning magical career. However, as these accomplishments were achieved in the virtual realm, they weren't recognized by the system as completed quests. The same applied to the charms and defense against the dark arts spells he had diligently practiced. Determined to tackle these challenges in the physical world, Harry reached into his system inventory, retrieving his cauldron and the necessary ingredients for the Cure for Boils potion. He carefully set up his workstation, organizing the ingredients: nettle leaves, dittany, snake fangs, porcupine quills, horned slugs and flobberworm mucus. As he began the brewing process, Harry recalled the optimal formula he had discovered in the virtual room. He started with the nettle leaves, grinding them to a medium fineness to ensure they released their essence effectively without overpowering the potion. He then added them to the cauldron, boiling them for precisely 12 minutes at a medium simmer. The familiar smell of the brewing potion filled the room, bringing a sense of accomplishment and nostalgia. Next in the sequence of brewing the Cure for Boils potion was dittany. Harry carefully measured and added the dittany, mindful of its potent healing properties. He was aware that its placement in the brewing sequence was critical, after the nettle leaves but before the snake fangs. The dittany's role was to enhance the potion's healing efficacy, particularly complementing the anti-inflammatory qualities of the nettle leaves. As Harry stirred the potion, he maintained a rhythmic, clockwise motion, a method he had found to be most effective in ensuring a consistent flow and energy throughout the brewing process. This precise stirring technique was crucial for integrating the dittany effectively into the potion without overwhelming the other ingredients. The next ingredient was the snake fangs. Harry had learned that these needed to be finely ground to maximize their reactive potential. The maturity of the snake fangs played a significant role in the potion's success, with mature fangs offering a more potent reaction. However, their incorporation required careful handling. Harry added them gradually, a sprinkle here, a dash there, to prevent any volatility that might arise from their potent nature. Following the snake fangs were the porcupine quills. Harry had cut them into half-inch lengths, ensuring they dissolved uniformly in the potion. This uniform dissolution was key to the potion's stability, preventing any uneven distribution of the quills' properties. The preparation of the horned slugs was next. Harry graded them, ensuring the even distribution of their mucus throughout the potion. The slug's mucus was essential for enhancing the potion's binding qualities, a factor that played a significant role in its overall efficacy. Finally, Harry added the flobberworm mucus. He had learned that adding it last was crucial as it smoothed out the potion's texture and bound the ingredients together without diminishing the healing properties of the other components. The mucus's role was to bring all the elements together in harmony, creating a stable and effective potion. Throughout the brewing process, Harry maintained a medium flame, ensuring that the brew remained active without overheating. This careful heat management was as crucial as the stirring method and the order of ingredient addition. The potion's texture was smooth, facilitated by the flobberworm mucus, and its consistency was stable, aided by the precise cutting of the porcupine quills and the grating of the horned slugs. The potency of the potion was balanced, with careful attention paid to the maturity of the ingredients, particularly the nettle leaves and snake fangs. Its effectiveness was primarily designed for treating skin ailments, notably boils, and was enhanced by the inclusion of dittany. As Harry observed the potion's final form, he reflected on the meticulous choice and sequence of ingredient addition. Each element had been carefully selected and added in a way that maximized their individual and collective effects. The potion, currently at an 80% mastery level, indicated a high degree of effectiveness, with potential for minor refinements. Harry's satisfaction with his achievement was palpable. He had not only mastered the potion but had done so through careful experimentation, attention to detail, and a deep understanding of the ingredients, properties and interactions. His journey in the virtual potion crafting room had equipped him with the knowledge and skills to replicate this success in the real world. As Harry meticulously cleaned his workstation in the real world, having successfully recreated the cure for Boyle's potion outside the virtual realm, he heard Nigel's voice in his mind, acknowledging his achievement. "Beautifully done, Master Harry. 5 points, Nigel intoned, his voice carrying the usual hint of dry amusement. Harry smiled at the acknowledgement. "That's a start," he muttered to himself. Feeling motivated by his recent success, he decided to demonstrate all of his spells from the defense against the dark arts, dada, and charms subjects. He knew this was necessary to prove his mastery and earn more points from the system. Standing in the middle of his room, Harry focused on the first spell. His innate talent for wandless magic came in handy as he visualized the incantation and the desired effect of the levitation charm, Wingardium Leviosa. The object he targeted floated effortlessly into the air, and a familiar system message appeared before his eyes: Levitation charm, successfully demonstrated. 5 points. Encouraged, Harry moved on to the softening charm, Spongify. He pointed at a hard surface, and upon casting the spell, it became bouncy and rubber-like. The system promptly awarded him another 5 points. Following his successful demonstration of the levitation and softening charms, Harry moved methodically through the remaining spells from the defense against the dark arts and charms curricula. With each spell cast, his confidence and mastery grew, honed by his extensive practice in the virtual potion crafting room. The defense against the dark arts spells were challenging, yet Harry approached them with a determined focus. He seamlessly executed the Curse of the Bogies, expertly controlling its mischievous effects. The knockback jinx followed, with Harry directing a forceful push against an imaginary foe. Red Sparks, Verdimillious Charm, and its advanced versions, Duo and Tria, illuminated the room with bursts of light, revealing hidden objects. The Wand Lighting Charm, a simpler yet fundamental spell, cast a comforting glow, while the smokescreen spell created a thick cloud, obscuring his view momentarily. Lastly, Green Sparks provided a counter-signal, a testament to Harry's growing versatility in spellcasting. In charms, Harry's proficiency was equally evident. The Wand Lighting Charm and its counterpart, the Wand Extinguishing Charm, were executed with precision, reflecting his understanding of light manipulation. The fire-making spell produced a controlled flame, highlighting his skill in handling more volatile magic. The Unlocking Charm, Alohomora, and its opposite, the Locking Spell, Colloportus, demonstrated his grasp of practical enchantments. The Mending Charm, essential for everyday magical repairs, was performed with a meticulous touch. The Box Blasting Charm, though destructive, was handled with care, ensuring safety. The Severing Charm's precision was evident as Harry executed it with exactness. And, with a touch of whimsy, he made a pineapple dance across his desk, a charming display of magical creativity. The Knockback Jinx and Ice Jinx, each with their distinct purposes, were also executed flawlessly. With each spell cast, Harry's system awarded him points. The defense against the dark arts spells garnered him a total of 40 points, while the charm spells added another 65 points to his tally. Together with the 5 points from the successful brewing of the cure for Boyle's potion, Harry had amassed a total of 110 points. Adding the points he now had 175 points. He took a moment to appreciate the progress he had made, a journey that started with basic knowledge and led to a refined skill set in these two crucial areas of magic. Harry's achievements were not lost on Nigel, whose voice chimed in with a mix of encouragement and its usual sense of humor. "Well done, Master Harry. You've certainly outdone yourself. But remember, the journey of magic is endless. There's always more to learn and master. Harry rolled his eyes at the magical mentor in his mind, although he knew Nigel was right. Indeed, Nigel, and I'm just getting started. Harry, feeling invigorated by his recent accomplishments in spellcasting and potion making, called upon Nigel in his mind. Nigel, show me some useful spells, please. I want to learn a few more. He specifically requested to see spells he hadn't mastered yet, and as if on cue, a virtual screen materialized in front of him, listing the new spells along with their point costs in the system. System message: Charms. Scourge Charm, 20 points. Dancing Feet Spell, 25 points. Disarming Charm, 30 points. Memory Charm, 35 points. Tickling Charm, 20 points. Freezing Charm, 25 points. Engorgement Charm, 30 points. Shrinking Charm, 30 points. General Counter Spell, 25 points. Slowing Charm, 25 points. Transfiguration Knowledge. Beetle Buttons, 15 points. Rabbit Slippers, 20 points. Vera Verto, 30 points. Reparifarge, 25 points. Porcupine to Pin Cushion, 25 points. Avaphor Spell Revision 15 points. Transfiguration Spell, 30 points. Cuz Vera Verto Demo, 40 points. Potions Recipes. Fire Protection Potion, 25 points. Strengthening Solution, 20 points. Swelling Solution, 20 points. Wiggenweld Potion Revision 15 points. Hair Raising Potion, 20 points. Girding Potion, 25 points. Defense Against the Dark Arts. Homorphous Charm, 35 points. Vertimilious Duo Spell, 25 points. Vermilious Duo, 25 points. Vermilious Tria, 30 points. Tickling Charm, 20 points. Full Body Bind Curse, 40 points. Fumo's Duo, 25 points. Softening Charm, 20 points. Harry perused the list of new spells and their point costs with a thoughtful expression. His recent accumulation of points in the system presented him with a tantalizing array of magical possibilities. Each spell on the list represented not just a new skill to master but a step closer to becoming a more formidable and versatile wizard. He had 175 points to spend, a substantial amount, yet he knew he needed to choose wisely. Choices, he mumbled, considering which spells would be most beneficial. His eyes scanned the list, lingering on each spell as he weighed its utility and the challenge it presented. Nigel's voice emerged in his mind. Quite the shopping list you've got there, Master Harry. Planning to become a one-man magical army, are we? Harry couldn't help but chuckle. Nigel's tone, ever helpful, had a way of grounding him, reminding him not to get too carried away. Well, Nigel, I've got to be prepared for anything, don't I? Hogwarts won't know what hit it. Indeed, Nigel replied, his tone laced with a hint of amusement. Just be sure not to bite off more than you can chew. Remember, mastering a spell takes more than just reading about it. Harry nodded, knowing Nigel was right. He decided to focus on spells that would offer immediate practical benefits and contribute to his defense and magical knowledge. After some contemplation, he made his selections. Let's go with the Disarming Charm from Charms. It's a dual-purpose spell, useful in both defense and dueling, Harry decided, deducting 30 points for the purchase. Harry tapped his chin thoughtfully, considering his next choice from the list Nigel provided. The Freezing Charm seems quite useful, he mused, deducting another 25 points. This spell, he figured, could be instrumental in various situations, from stopping objects in motion to creating temporary obstacles. Now, for Transfiguration, Harry said, his eyes scanning the options. The Avaphor spell could be handy. He remembered reading about it, a spell that transforms small objects into birds. It wasn't just the transformation aspect that intrigued him but the potential for understanding deeper principles of transfiguration. He spent 15 points on acquiring it. He looked at the defense against the dark arts spells. The full body bind curse seems like a powerful defensive tool, he decided, spending 40 points. The idea of completely immobilizing an opponent, especially in a dangerous situation, was too valuable to pass up. Having spent a total of 110 points, Harry still had 60 points left. He decided to save these for future use, knowing that his magical journey was just beginning, and more opportunities would arise to expand his repertoire. Nigel, observing Harry's choices, commented, "A prudent selection, Master Harry. A balanced approach to your magical education, spells and transfigurations. You're covering all bases." Harry nodded, feeling a sense of satisfaction with his selections. He understood that each new spell brought with it a responsibility to learn and practice diligently. "Time to get to work then," he said with a determined smile. Entering the virtual potion crafting room once again, Harry was greeted by the familiar sight of the space where he had previously tested his spells on virtual versions of Vernon and Dudley. He couldn't help but smile at the memory of their comical discomfort, satisfying retribution for their years of mistreatment. I can always find more potion recipes by just reading and copying books into the system's library, Harry thought aloud. But quickly learning spells is better. The convenience of the system integrating new spells directly into his being, starting him off with initial mastery, was far more efficient than traditional learning methods. Nigel, please create my uncle and cousin again, Harry requested, eager to test his newly acquired spells. The air in the virtual room shimmered as Nigel, the AI assistant, obliged. Soon, the familiar figures of Vernon and Dudley appeared, looking as unpleasant and disdainful as their real-life counterparts. Yet, there was something comically different about them this time. They were both clad in absurdly colorful and mismatched clothes, wielding swords that seemed far too grandiose for their mundane appearances. Harry chuckled at the sight. Well, this should be interesting, he remarked, amused by Nigel's choice of attire for the duo. It was as if they had been plucked from a medieval fair and dropped into the virtual room. How should I start? Harry mused, eyeing the virtual representations of his relatives. Nigel's response came with a hint of his characteristic sarcasm. I thought giving them some semblance of a fighting chance might be entertaining. Swords seemed fittingly ridiculous. Harry nodded, amused by Nigel's imagination. Let's start with the disarming charm, he decided, focusing on the spell he had just acquired. Pointing his finger at Vernon, he visualized the spell's effect. Expelliarmus, he exclaimed, and with a flick of his wrist, the sword flew out of Vernon's hand, clattering across the virtual floor. Encouraged by his success, Harry turned his attention to Dudley. And now for you, he said, casting the same spell. Dudley's sword similarly flew out of his hand, leaving him looking bewildered and defenseless. Next, the freezing charm, Harry said, aiming at Vernon. Immobilis. The spell took immediate effect, freezing Vernon in place, his expression frozen in a comical grimace. Dudley, seeing his virtual father immobilized, attempted to flee, but Harry was quick to act. Immobilis, he repeated, and Dudley too was frozen, mid-stride. Satisfied with the effectiveness of the freezing charm, Harry contemplated his next move. Time for something a bit different, he mused. Let's see how they handle the Avaphor spell. With a wave of his hand, he cast the spell, and to his delight, Vernon's colorful clothing transformed into a flock of small, chirping birds that fluttered around the room before vanishing. Dudley's attire followed suit, leaving virtual Dudley looking baffled and slightly embarrassed in his suddenly plain undergarments. Harry couldn't help but laugh at the scene. Now, for the finale, he declared. Focusing on the full-body bind curse, he pointed at the still immobile figures of Vernon and Dudley. Petrificus totalis, he exclaimed, and though they were already immobilized by the freezing charm, the additional spell seemed to reinforce their helpless state. As Harry stepped back to admire his handiwork, Nigel's voice chimed in. Quite the display, Master Harry. You've rendered them utterly defenseless and a bit ridiculous, if I may add. Harry nodded, feeling a sense of achievement at the successful use of his new spells in the virtual potion crafting room. It's good practice, he acknowledged to himself, but not enough. The recent spellcasting was satisfying, yet Harry knew that to truly master his magic, especially his wandless capabilities, he needed a greater challenge. Nigel, he said, addressing the AI companion, can you emulate a grand wizard? Keep their forms as Vernon and Dudley, it fires my spirit. But make them, well, capable of moving around unlike their real selves and give them magic and wands. I want to test all my spells in combat. Harry was aware of the challenge ahead. Combat spellcasting, especially wandless, required immense focus and precision, skills he was still developing. As if responding to his thoughts, the virtual figures of Vernon and Dudley transformed before his eyes. They still retained their comical appearance, but now each held a wand, their postures hinting at a newfound magical prowess. Very well, Master Harry, Nigel's voice resonated in the room, tinged with a hint of intrigue. But remember, combat magic is a dance of strategy and quick thinking. Let's see how you fare. The virtual Vernon and Dudley began to move, their actions surprisingly fluid and skilled, a stark contrast to their real-world counterparts. They raised their wands, ready to engage in magical combat. Dudley was the first to attack, launching a spell Harry didn't recognize. Stupefy, he exclaimed, his wand emitting a bright red jet of light. Harry, caught off guard, stumbled backward, narrowly avoiding the stunning spell. It was a stark reminder that in this virtual combat, Dudley and Vernon were not restricted to spells Harry knew. Harry quickly regained his composure, realizing the need for immense focus, especially in wandless magic. He retaliated with a levitation charm, Wingardium Leviosa, targeting Dudley's clothes. The charm, though successful in lifting Dudley slightly off the ground, was clumsier than Harry had intended, his concentration faltering under the pressure of combat. Vernon, seizing the opportunity, cast an unknown spell, a jet of green light aiming straight for Harry. Avaphors, Harry shouted instinctively, turning the table into flock of birds. The spell, and flying avian, managed to deflect the attack, but just barely. Harry's execution was far from perfect, his wandless casting still unrefined under duress. Harry knew he needed to adapt quickly. Wandless magic required a different approach, a deeper connection with his magical core. He focused, envisioning the energy flowing through him, and cast a freezing charm, Immobilis, at Vernon. The spell hit its mark, but the effect was weaker than expected, only slowing Vernon down rather than fully immobilizing him. Dudley, now back on the ground, launched a series of spells, each more complex than the last. Expelliarmus, Incendio, Petrificus Totalis, he yelled in quick succession. Harry, struggling to keep up, countered with a mix of dodges and hastily cast protective spells. His responses were reactive rather than strategic, his inexperience in magical combat evident. He created ice jinx to block some of the spells. Nigel's voice echoed in Harry's mind, a blend of encouragement and sarcasm. Quite the magical duel you've got here, Master Harry. But remember, flailing about is not a strategy. Harry, amidst dodging another spell from Dudley, replied mentally, easier said than done, Nigel. Vernon and Dudley, their wands raised high, chanted in unison, Fiendfire. The incantation unleashed a roaring blaze, its fierce flames rapidly melting the ice Harry had conjured. The fire, voracious and uncontrolled, began to advance towards Harry, threatening to engulf even the smokescreen he had created. As the Fiendfire roared towards Harry, its flames burning with an intensity that threatened to consume everything in their path, Harry realized the gravity of the situation. Fiendfire, a magical fire known for its destructive power and difficulty to control, was not something he could easily counter with his current repertoire of spells. Dudley, with a smirk, watched the flames advance, confident in the spell's potency. Vernon, standing beside him, prepared to launch another spell, anticipating Harry's defeat. Harry, his mind racing for a solution, hoped his mastery of the ice jinx could save him. It was a desperate thought, ice against such a powerful fire, but it was the only option he had. He focused his mind, attempting to generate ice in a form large enough to at least slow down the Fiendfire. Nigel, observing the scene, remarked, a bit of ice in the face of a dragon's breath. Bold move, Master Harry. Harry's ice jinx conjured a massive wall of ice, rising to meet the fiery onslaught. For a moment, the ice held, steam and mist filling the air as the two elemental forces clashed. But the Fiendfire, fueled by magical energy, began to melt through the barrier, its flames undeterred. Realizing the futility of his actions, Harry quickly shifted his strategy. He decided to use his modified levitation charm, Wingardium Leviosa, on his own clothes, making himself lighter to enhance his mobility. This spell modification was a gamble to gain agility and create distance between himself and the Fiendfire. Nigel, sensing the urgency, advised, swift feet may be your best ally here, Master Harry. Harry darted around the room, his movements enhanced by the spell, avoiding the flames that continued to spread. Vernon and Dudley, surprised by Harry's sudden burst of speed, tried to keep up with their spells, but Harry's agility kept him one step ahead. However, the Fiendfire was relentless, and Harry soon found himself cornered. The heat was intense, and he could feel the searing air threatening to overwhelm him. In a last-ditch effort, Harry cast the smokescreen spell, hoping to create a diversion and obscure his opponent's vision. The smokescreen provided a momentary cover, but Vernon and Dudley, experienced in the virtual dueling program, quickly adapted. They continued their assault, casting spells through the smoke, trying to locate Harry. As the smoke cleared and the light failed to have any effect, Harry realized he was outmatched. The virtual Vernon and Dudley, programmed to be formidable opponents, had the upper hand with the Fiendfire. Harry knew that in a real duel, such a spell could have disastrous consequences, and his current level of skill was not sufficient to counter it effectively. Breathing heavily and feeling the heat intensifying, Harry made the decision to end the simulation. Nigel, terminate the program, he said, his voice a mixture of frustration and resignation. The flames vanished instantly as the virtual environment reset, leaving Harry standing alone in the now empty room. The lesson was clear, there was much more he needed to learn. Sitting in the now empty virtual potion crafting room, Harry's breath came in heavy gasps. The phantom sensation of Fiendfire's hot flames lingered on his skin, a vivid reminder of the simulation's intensity. He realized the stark truth, his malnourished body, a legacy of years of neglect at the Dursleys, was catching up to him. Though he had made progress, it was not enough. His recent combat simulation against the virtual representations of Vernon and Dudley had highlighted a crucial gap in his magical education. I need to work out, Nigel, Harry said, determination evident in his voice. My physical strength isn't matching up to my magical abilities. I need to put on some muscle, learn some dodging techniques, and increase my stamina. Wizards can't rely solely on spells. Nigel's voice responded with a pep. Indeed, Master Harry, a sound mind in a sound body, as they say. Though I must say, watching you duck and dive in there was more entertaining than I anticipated. Harry smiled faintly at Nigel's remark. As always, AI was quick-witted in response, and had a twisted way of uplifting his mood. I'm glad I could provide some entertainment. But seriously, Nigel, I need a training regimen, something that will help me build my physical endurance and agility. Very well, Nigel replied. Let's design a comprehensive fitness program for you. You'll need a blend of cardiovascular exercises for stamina, strength training for muscle building, and agility drills for quick reflexes. And perhaps, Master Harry, you should consider some basic martial arts training as well. It never hurts to have a few physical tricks up your sleeve. Harry nodded in agreement. That sounds like a plan. Let's get started. Over the next few weeks, Harry embarked on a rigorous physical training routine. Each morning, he would wake up early, often before Petunia started her daily chores, and head to the small backyard of Privet Drive. There, under Nigel's virtual guidance, he would jog in place, do sets of push-ups, sit-ups, and other bodyweight exercises. He focused on building his core strength, knowing it was essential for both physical and magical endurance. His afternoons were dedicated to agility training. Nigel had created a series of virtual obstacles in the virtual room, and Harry would practice dodging, weaving, and jumping, honing his reflexes and spatial awareness. The physical exertion was exhausting, but Harry could feel himself getting stronger, faster, and more confident with each passing day. As the sun set, Harry would often practice martial arts basics. Nigel, drawing upon various styles and techniques, instructed Harry in the art of self-defense. Harry learned basic stances, punches, kicks, and blocks. Although he hoped never to use them in a real fight, he understood the value of being prepared. Night after night, Harry dedicated himself to a regimen of magical and physical training. As he lay in bed, his body aching from the day's exercises, he would mentally review his progress, reflecting on the quests he had completed and the spells he had perfected. His journey through the magical disciplines was not just about gaining points, it was about building a foundation for his future at Hogwarts. In the realm of potions, Harry continued to impress. His recent mastery of the cure for Boyle's potion was just the beginning. He delved into the brewing of the Forgetfulness potion, a delicate concoction that required precise timing and temperature control. The herbicide potion, essential for any aspiring wizard interested in herbology, was his next challenge. Meticulously measuring and mixing the ingredients, Harry successfully brewed it, earning him another 15 points. Transfiguration was a field that fascinated Harry. He spent hours practicing the basics of the Transfiguration alphabet and formula, slowly but surely getting the hang of transforming objects into their desired forms. The match-to-needle transfiguration, a fundamental exercise in the art, was now within his grasp. He also revisited the Avaphor's spell, refining his technique. Each successful transfiguration brought him closer to understanding this complex and intriguing branch of magic, and his system awarded him points accordingly. Harry's exploration of herbology was equally diligent. The handling of magical plants like Devil's Snare and Venomous Tentacula required a careful approach, and Harry took no chances. He studied their properties, learning how to care for and utilize these unique flora. The Lumos Solum spell, effective in handling light-sensitive plants, was another addition to his growing list of magical skills. His system recognized his efforts in herbology, adding more points to his tally. In astronomy, Harry engaged in nightly observations, studying the moon and star charts. He learned the names and movements of celestial bodies, finding a sense of peace in the vastness of the night sky. His understanding of astronomy deepened, earning him recognition from the system in the form of points. However, it wasn't all about magic and training. Harry's relationship with his Aunt Petunia had transformed dramatically. They were no longer just cohabitants in the same house, they were family. Harry helped Petunia with chores around the house, often engaging in light conversation as they worked. He noticed the small changes in her demeanor, the way she smiled more often, how her eyes seemed less burdened. Their shared meals were no longer silent affairs but filled with discussions about their day, sometimes even touching upon the magical world that Harry was slowly becoming a part of. One particular evening, after dinner, Harry found Petunia sitting in the living room, her hands clasped in her lap, a thoughtful expression on her face. Harry sat beside her, curious about what was on her mind. "Harry," Petunia began, her voice hesitant. "I've been thinking about your mother, Lily. She was so fascinated by magic, much like you. I regret not understanding her more, not being there for her." Harry listened, a surge of empathy for his aunt welling within him. "Aunt Petunia, I think she would have been happy to know that we are here, together. Maybe it's never too late to understand." Petunia smiled faintly, a tear glistening in her eye. "Maybe you're right, Harry. Maybe you're right." And just like that, weeks passed, and the destined day arrived. In one June morning, just after Harry's workout, he walked into the house when he saw a letter on the doormat. "Auntie, my letter arrived," Harry called out as soon as he saw the crest of Hogwarts. Petunia was right beside him in a matter of seconds, reading the letter's envelope. It read, "Mr. H. Potter, the second bedroom on the second floor, 4 Privet Drive, Little Whinging, Surrey." Petunia was as excited as Harry. "Quick, open it," she urged. Harry broke the seal on the front and took out a thick parchment, reading the acceptance letter aloud. Dear Mr. Potter, we are pleased to inform you that you have been accepted at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Please find enclosed a list of all necessary books and equipment. Term begins on the 1st of September. We await your owl by no later than the 31st of July. Yours sincerely, Minerva McGonagall, Deputy Headmistress. Petunia clapped her hands together, her excitement palpable. Oh, Harry, this is wonderful. You're going to Hogwarts, just like your mother. Harry's eyes sparkled with unbridled joy. I can't believe it, Aunt Petunia. I'm actually going to learn magic, real magic. Nigel's voice echoed in Harry's mind. Well, Master Harry, it appears your journey into the magical world is officially underway. Time to trade those virtual cauldrons for real ones, I suppose. Harry chuckled at Nigel's comment. You've been a great help, Nigel. But now, it's time for the real deal. Harry then turned the letter to check the list of equipments and books he was to purchase. Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Uniform. First-year students will require 3 sets of plain work robes black. 1 plain pointed hat black for day wear. 1 pair of protective gloves dragon hide or similar. 1 winter cloak black, with silver fastenings. Please note that all pupils' clothes should carry name tags. Course books. All students should have a copy of each of the following. The Standard Book of Spells Grade 1 by Miranda Goshawk. A History of Magic by Bathilda Bagshot. Magical Theory by Adalbert Waffling. A Beginner's Guide to Transfiguration by Emmerich Switch. 1000 Magical Herbs and Fungi by Felita Spore. Magical Drafts and Potions by Arsenius Jigger. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them by Newt Scamander. The Dark Forces. A Guide to Self-Protection by Quentin Trimble. Other equipment. 1 wand. 1 cauldron pewter, standard size 2. 1 set glass or crystal phials. 1 telescope. 1 set brass scales. Students may also bring, if they desire, an owl or a cat or a toad. Parents are reminded that first years are not allowed their own broomstick. Yours sincerely, Lucinda Thompsonical Pocus, Chief Attendant of Witchcraft Provisions. Petunia clapped her hands together enthusiastically. Let's go and get your things, Harry. Her voice held a hint of excitement, a stark contrast to the cold indifference she had once shown towards anything related to the magical world. Harry nodded, his heart swelling with happiness at the thought of finally starting school at Hogwarts. They quickly prepared and set out for London, with Petunia once again asking Tom, the bartender of the Leaky Cauldron, to open the path to Diagon Alley. As they walked through the bustling magical alley, Harry couldn't help but feel a sense of belonging. The sights, sounds, and smells of Diagon Alley were like nothing in the Muggle world. Wizards and witches of all ages moved about, shopping for various magical goods. Harry's eyes widened in wonder at the array of shops, each offering its own unique magical wares. Despite coming here often, he couldn't get bored of the atmosphere. Their first stop was Gringotts, the Wizarding Bank. Harry had visited Gringotts before, but this time, his visit had a different purpose, to access his family vault. As they entered the grand marble building, a goblin at the reception gave them a look of disdain. However, his expression swiftly changed to one of respect when Harry greeted him in fluent gobbledygook, a language few wizards mastered. May your vaults stand as fortresses of wealth, impervious to all who seek to breach their defenses, and may your riches multiply like the stars in the night sky, Harry said with a respectful nod. The goblin, clearly impressed, replied in kind, may your treasures remain hidden from the prying eyes of thieves and interlopers, and may the gems in your possession shine brighter than the sun. Their exchange was brief but filled with mutual respect. Harry then introduced himself. I am Harry Potter, the heir of the Potter family. I am here to gain access to my vault. The goblin was once again surprised by the kid's identity but promptly rang a bell, summoning another goblin. Escort Mr. Potter to Grimbletack, the goblin instructed. With a nod, the goblin led Harry to a chamber. The goblin's eyes gleamed with a mixture of surprise and curiosity as Harry and Petunia were ushered into Grimbletack's office. The room, adorned with ancient goblin artifacts and gleaming treasures, spoke of the vast wealth and history of the goblin nation. Grimbletack, an elder goblin with a sharp gaze and an air of authority, sat behind a large, intricately carved desk. Welcome, Mr. Potter, Grimbletack greeted in English, his voice deep and gravelly. Harry replied in fluent gobbledygook, the goblin language, may your blades be ever sharp, your spells potent, and your cunning unmatched in the pursuit of prosperity. His words flowed naturally, a testament to his dedication to understanding the magical world in its entirety. Grimbletack's expression shifted to one of respect, a rare occurrence for a goblin dealing with wizards. May your enemies quail before your might, their ambitions shattered like fragile glass, and may your strength be a beacon for all who honor our traditions, he responded, a hint of a smirk on his face. I didn't know the heir of Potter was versed in our language. Harry smiled modestly, a skill I picked up. I believe it's important to respect and understand the cultures within our world. This pleased Grimbletack, He gestured for Harry and Petunia to take a seat. Now, Mr. Potter, what brings you to Gringotts today? He then added, I worked with your father and grandfather many years. Both great men. Harry was pleased to hear his father and grandfather praised. Tapping the table, he said, I would like to access my family vault as the sole heir of the Potter family, but I was informed the key is in the hands of Albus Dumbledore. Grimbletack nodded, you are informed well. But that is not a problem. Since the vault is yours, you can always re-summon the key. Harry was surprised. He hadn't known about this function. He pondered the implications, wondering about the security of such a system. What if someone had forced him when he was small and gained access to his vault? Sensing Harry's concerns, Grimbletack explained, it is not as easy as you think. First of all, you must be in Gringotts. Secondly, a senior goblin must draw a rune. All of our crafts are special and have resummoning ability. Harry nodded, then asked, I was also informed that Dumbledore would know if I were to try to access my family vault. Does it mean you inform him? Grimbletack smirked. A great wizard of his caliber had probably placed a spell on the key and would be notified when it moved. We will not be informing him, no, but he will know nonetheless. Content with the answer, Harry said, please draw the rune, I would like to summon my key. Grimbletack stood up, his movements carrying the weight of centuries of goblin wisdom. He took a piece of metal and laid it on the table. With a small, intricately carved knife, he began to etch a rune onto the metal. The rune glowed faintly as Grimbletack chanted in gobbledygook. The air in the room seemed to thicken, and a sense of ancient magic permeated the atmosphere. As the rune's glow intensified, Grimbletack took a small, empty box and placed it in front of Harry. Place a drop of your blood in the box, he instructed. Harry did as told. As his hand hovered over the box, dripping a drop, the rune's glow surged, and a small key materialized inside it. Harry looked at it in awe, the symbol of his family's legacy now tangible in his hands. Thank you, Harry said, pocketing the key. I have one more question. Is there a way to protect my vault, so that even if someone were to force me here, they couldn't access it? Grimbletack answered Harry's inquiry with a solemn nod. Indeed, I hold the second key to your vault. If you come here under duress, I will know. His voice carried the assurance of centuries of goblin expertise in safeguarding the treasures entrusted to them. Harry, satisfied with this level of security, stood up. Please, lead the way, he requested. Petunia, who had been observing the exchange with a mixture of curiosity and awe, followed closely behind as they descended into the depths of Gringotts. The journey to the Potter family vault was an experience in itself. They traveled deep underground, passing through levels of security and enchantments that spoke of the ancient and noble lineage of the Potter family. Their vault was located in one of the deepest and most secure areas of the bank, a testament to the family's significant status in the wizarding world. Grimbletack skillfully maneuvered the wagon, guiding them through the labyrinthine tunnels of the bank. The deeper they went, the more Harry felt a sense of connection to his family's past. Finally, they arrived in front of a giant vault door, imposing in its size and adorned with intricate carvings that shimmered with protective enchantments. Harry and Grimbletack used their keys simultaneously to unlock the vault. As the door creaked open, a puff of green smoke billowed out, briefly obscuring their view. When the smoke cleared, Harry's eyes widened in astonishment at the sight before him. Inside the vault were mountains of galleons, piles of precious gems, and numerous chests filled with family heirlooms. Along the walls were shelves stacked with ancient books, their spines embossed with gold lettering, hinting at the wealth of knowledge contained within. There were artifacts of magical significance, some gleaming with enchantments, others whispering of history and legacy. The air was thick with the scent of old parchment and metal, a tangible reminder of the centuries of wealth and power accumulated by the Potter family. Harry was struck by the sheer magnitude of what lay before him. The gold glinted under the dim light, each coin a symbol of his family's enduring legacy. There were rows of neatly labeled chests, some bound with magical locks, others adorned with family crests. The books ranged from ancient spellbooks to historical accounts of magical events, their pages filled with the wisdom of generations. Grimbletack chuckled at Harry's expression. The Potter family owns several establishments around the world, he explained. There are patented magical products to their name, and the lands in Diagon Alley bring constant profit. Adding to the fortune your ancestors amassed, this vault has never seen a day without gold. Harry turned to the old goblin, a newfound respect in his eyes. Thank you for your hard work, Grimbletack. His voice was sincere, recognizing the effort and diligence the goblins put into managing such wealth. Grimbletack smirked in response, his eyes gleaming. It was my pleasure, he said. And indeed it was. Goblins cherished gold, even if it wasn't their own, and the opportunity to oversee such a vast fortune was a source of pride for Grimbletack. Harry walked into the Potter family vault, his eyes scanning the books and chests laid before him. I will take a look at them, if you don't mind, he said to Petunia, who nodded in agreement. Grimbletack, with a knowing look, stepped outside the vault, leaving Harry to explore. Take your time, he said, summoning his desk and papers, immersing himself in his work. Harry began to leaf through the books one by one. As he did, the technology system seamlessly copied all the content into its digital library. This process took about 2 hours, during which Petunia patiently waited inside the vault, occasionally glancing around with a mixture of awe and curiosity. Grimbletack, busy with his work, remained just outside. After Harry finished with the books, he turned his attention to the heirlooms. Using the observe function of the system, he examined several items. The system's voice echoed in his mind, providing details of each. Silver goblet, enchanted to detect poisons. Crafted in the 13th century, a relic of the first Potter alchemist. Enchanted mirror, capable of showing distant locations. A gift from a French sorcerer to your great-great-grandfather. Magical compass, points to the nearest source of strong magic. Created by a renowned wizard cartographer. Harry was intrigued by each item, but he noticed the absence of the fabled invisibility cloak. Nigel's voice, ever present in his mind, confirmed, the cloak isn't here, Master Harry. Perhaps it's in another location or with someone else. Moving on, Harry's gaze fell upon a shelf containing an array of wands, each representing a piece of the Potter family's heritage. Nigel, observe these wands and recommend the most compatible one for me. Check if any of them have tracking spells. Analyzing now, Nigel responded. The system ran through each wand, and Nigel relayed the findings. Wand 1. Oak, 12 inches, Dragon Heartstring Core. Well suited for transfiguration, no tracking spell detected. Wand 2. Hawthorn, 11.5 inches, Unicorn Hair Core. Excellent for defensive spells, no tracking. Wand 3. Elm, 13 inches, Phoenix Feather Core. A powerful wand for charm work, no tracking. Wand 4. Walnut, 10 inches, Thestral Tail Hair Core. Rare and powerful, especially in the hands of a true seer. No tracking. After a moment of contemplation, Nigel suggested, the elm, 13 inches, Phoenix Feather Core seems most intriguing, especially given your potential for deeper magical insights, Master Harry. Harry reached for the elm wand, feeling a surge of energy as he held it. It was as if the wand recognized its new master. This feels right, Harry said, a sense of certainty in his voice. Yes, a fine choice indeed, Nigel agreed. No tracking spells on any of these wands. They are safe to use. Harry discreetly slid the elm wand into his inventory, a feature of his magical system that allowed him to store items without physically carrying them. He then turned his attention to the 3 heirlooms he had observed earlier. With a quick, unnoticeable gesture, he added each to his inventory. As he did so, system messages flashed briefly in his mind. System message. Silver goblet with poison detection added to inventory. System message. Enchanted mirror for distant viewing added to inventory. System message. Magical compass added to inventory. System message. Enchanted chess set added to inventory. A gift from a Spanish wizard to your great-grandfather. The pieces move autonomously, strategizing against opponents. Ideal for developing tactical skills. Harry marveled at the craftsmanship of the chess set. He could already imagine playing against the magically intelligent pieces, honing his strategic thinking. System message. Time turner added to inventory. Acquired by your ancestor during the experimentation with time magic. Use with extreme caution, can reverse time for short durations. The time turner, delicate and shimmering, fascinated Harry. Nigel's voice cautioned in his mind, remember, Master Harry, tampering with time can have unforeseen consequences. Best used sparingly, if at all. System message. Invisibility ring added to inventory. Crafted by a master enchantress as a wedding gift. Renders the wearer invisible, though not infallible to powerful detection spells. The ring, simple yet elegant, intrigued Harry. He thought of the tactical advantage it could provide, especially in situations requiring stealth or escape. System message. Phoenix Feather Quill added to inventory. A gift from a famed magizoologist. Writes with ink that appears or disappears at the user's command. Harry tested the quill, watching in amazement as the ink vanished and reappeared on a piece of parchment. Quite handy for confidential notes, Nigel noted. System message. Goblet of Fiery Flames added to inventory. An ancient artifact that can conjure violet flames, cold to the touch but capable of burning through most magical barriers. Harry handled the goblet carefully, feeling the latent power within. A useful tool for certain, fiery situations, Nigel quipped. System message. Crystal Ball of True Seeing added to inventory. A powerful divination tool, said to reveal truths and future events to those with the gift of sight. Though skeptical of divination, Harry couldn't help but be intrigued by the crystal ball's swirling depths. A glimpse into the future, perhaps, Nigel mused. System message. Potion of Eternal Vigor added to inventory. A rare potion that temporarily enhances physical and magical stamina. Brewed by a renowned potion master. Harry considered the potion's potential, especially in demanding situations requiring extra endurance. Nigel cautioned, use it wisely, Master Harry. Such enhancements come at a price. System message. Book of Ancient Runes added to inventory. Contains knowledge of forgotten runes and their applications. Believed to be authored by a rune master. The book, its pages filled with arcane symbols, piqued Harry's interest in the language of magic. Runes, the building blocks of magic, Nigel noted. System message. Potion recipe book of legendary brews added to inventory. Contains recipes for potions lost to time, some with untold powers. Harry flipped through the book, his mind racing with the possibilities of brewing these forgotten potions. A potion master's dream, Nigel commented. System message. Enchanted Haven briefcase added to inventory. Originally acquired by an adventurous ancestor of the Potter family, known for his exploration and collection of magical creatures. The briefcase, a masterpiece of magical craftsmanship, houses a miniature world within. Harry stumbled upon a small, finger-sized bag, seemingly innocuous but beautifully crafted. Its exterior resembled a tiny briefcase, intricately detailed and exuding an aura of ancient magic. Curiosity piqued, Harry observed the item closely. System message. System observe activated. Revealing artifact's secrets. The system revealed that this was no ordinary bag. It was an Enchanted Haven briefcase, a magical container with a vast world inside. The outside, resembling a dense forest, was only a glimpse of the wonders it contained. Created over a millennium ago, this artifact was a testament to the Potter family's long history of magical exploration and their affinity for magical creatures. System message. Artifact abilities unlocked. Expandable world. Utter the password, and the briefcase expands into a full-sized entrance to a few acres of enchanted land. Undetectable. The briefcase and its contents are undetectable by most magical means. Homing feature. Once activated, the briefcase will always return to its master if lost or misplaced. Self-sustaining ecosystem. The enclosed forest thrives independently, with its own flora and fauna. Protected mansion. At the heart of the forest lies a magically guarded mansion, untouched by time and elements. The system revealed that the briefcase was originally the property of a Potter ancestor, known for his adventurous spirit and love for magical creatures. He had created this enchanted space as a sanctuary and research area for the magical creatures he encountered in his travels. Over the centuries, as it passed through generations, its true nature was forgotten, leading it to be stored away in Gringotts, unrecognized for the treasure it was. System message. Password for activation, Potter's Haven. Harry, holding the miniature briefcase, felt a surge of excitement. This was a discovery akin to that of Newt Scamander's famous case but with a history tied to his own family. The idea of having a self-contained world, complete with a mansion and a thriving ecosystem, was fascinating. Nigel, observing Harry's reaction, commented, "A world within a world, Master Harry. Quite the find, I must say. Imagine the secrets it holds." Harry was eager to explore this miniature world, to see the forest and the creatures it might house, and to step into the mansion that stood as a legacy of his family's past. However, he decided to wait before activating it, knowing that such exploration required time and preparation. Harry carefully pocketed the briefcase, planning to return to it when the time was right. The potential of this artifact was immense, not just as a resource but as a connection to his family's adventurous and magical heritage. As Harry looked at the many other artifacts, he realized the depth and breadth of his family's legacy. Each item in his inventory was not just a tool but a piece of history, a testament to the Potter family's role in the magical world. There were still tens of others, but he would check them later. "Quite the collection we have here, Master Harry," Nigel said, his voice reflecting a hint of awe. "Your family's legacy is indeed rich and varied." Harry nodded, feeling a sense of pride and responsibility. "This is more than just wealth," he said. "It's a heritage that I need to honor and preserve." Walking out of the vault, Harry couldn't help but feel a mix of exhilaration and responsibility. The wealth and history of his family were now more real to him than ever. Turning to Grimbletack, he inquired about a practical matter. "I heard there's a special pouch that allows me to withdraw money without needing to come here. Is that true?" Grimbletack nodded, his expression shifting to one of business-like efficiency. "Yes, it's known as the Gringotts withdrawal pouch. The cost is 13 galleons, and it has a monthly withdrawal limit of 50 galleons. Harry pondered for a moment, is the limit in place to control the flow of gold in the market? The goblin's lips curled into a smirk. "No, Sir Potter, it's merely to ensure our vaults are not emptied in one fell swoop. The idea of such a loss would be heart-wrenching for any goblin." Harry chuckled at the goblin's candid response. "Understood, I'll take one, and for today, I'll need 1,500 galleons for my shopping." Grimbletack winced slightly at the amount but nodded. With a wave of his hand, a small, intricately designed pouch appeared. He handed it to Harry, who watched as 13 galleons were automatically deducted from his vault. Grimbletack began to explain the features of the pouch. "This is not your ordinary money bag. It's magically enhanced for your convenience. Anti-theft and owner protected, only you, Sir Potter, can open it. Should it ever be dropped or lost, it will return to your side. It's enchanted with an expanded space charm, allowing it to hold more than its physical size would suggest, yet it remains feather-light regardless of its contents. The bag also has a discreet charm, making it unnoticeable to those around you, unless you wish it to be seen. Harry was impressed with the pouch's capabilities. He placed it in his pocket, and like his other belongings, it vanished into his inventory, a feature of his magical system that he was becoming increasingly reliant on. His next question was about the title deeds and wills he had seen in the vault. Grimbletack's expression soured slightly. You can't use those properties yet, I'm afraid. You should ask your headmaster for more details. Harry nodded, having anticipated this. Nigel had previously mentioned restrictions on his family's assets. Changing the subject, Grimbletack brought up another matter. The Potter family has a house elf. After your parents' demise, I took the liberty of keeping her here at Gringotts, so she could feed on the magic of our kind. House elves thrive on the magic of their bonded masters. Harry's interest piqued. Could I take her to my current residence? Grimbletack pondered for a moment and then agreed. That should be possible. Calling out, Misty, a house elf appeared with a soft pop. The elf's eyes darted from Grimbletack to Harry, widening in recognition and filling with tears. Master Harry, Misty exclaimed, her voice quivering with emotion. Her speech was broken, typical of house elves, but her joy at seeing Harry was unmistakable. Harry knelt to be at eye level with her. Misty, it is nice to meet you. I'd like to take you with me. Would you be willing to come to my home? Misty nodded vigorously, her ears flapping. Misty would be honored to serve Master Harry. Misty missed the Potter family so much. Misty remembers Master Harry in diapers. Harry smiled warmly. Then it's settled. You'll come with me to Privet Drive. As they left Gringotts, Harry, Petunia, and Misty headed towards the shops of Diagon Alley. Petunia looked curiously at Misty, her expression a mix of surprise and acceptance. Misty, this is my Aunt Petunia, Harry introduced. She's family. Misty bowed politely. Misty is pleased to meet Mistress Petunia. Petunia, still adapting to the magical world, nodded. Nice to meet you, Misty. Petunia looked at Harry, her eyes reflecting a mix of curiosity and pride. Where now? She asked. Harry smiled, his heart swelling with excitement. Let's get ingredients first. He led the way, his step light and eager. Petunia chuckled, shaking her head affectionately. You and your potions. Their first stop was Slug and Jigger's apothecary, a haven for any aspiring potion maker. The shop was filled with the scent of dried herbs and a myriad of potion ingredients. Harry's eyes darted around, taking in the shelves stacked with jars and packets. Ah, Master Harry, Nigel's voice echoed in his mind, the paradise of every potioneer. Do stock up well, you never know when you might need a bezoar or a bundle of valerian roots. Harry nodded, picking out various herbs, roots, and other essentials. He filled his basket with nettle leaves, snake fangs, porcupine quills, and much more. Petunia, though initially overwhelmed by the assortment of ingredients, soon found herself intrigued, asking questions about their uses. Harry meticulously selected extra ingredients for each potion. He knew well the advantages of his system's inventory, a timeless storage ensuring his supplies never degraded. Additionally, for the potions where he had achieved 80% mastery, he planned to use the virtual alchemy room for auto-creation, intending to sell these superior concoctions. Petunia, observing Harry's thoroughness, asked, Is all this really necessary? Harry grinned, absolutely. In the world of potions, it's better to have and not need, than need and not have. Their next stop was Potage's cauldron shop. Harry wasn't just any Hogwarts student, he sought a cauldron for every purpose. He chose silver and bronze cauldrons for their unique properties and large ones for more complex brews. With his new enchanted briefcase, transporting them would be a breeze. Each cauldron has its own specialty, Aunt Petunia. Silver cauldrons are perfect for potions requiring a delicate touch, while bronze ones are ideal for more aggressive reactions, Harry explained as he selected his cauldrons. Petunia nodded, her eyes reflecting a mix of fascination and pride. At Flourish and Blots, Harry's excitement was palpable. However, having visited this shop a few times before and copied the books to his system's library, he only purchased the school-required texts. His mental library was already brimming with hundreds of books, and Hogwarts' vast library awaited him with even more knowledge to explore. As Harry picked up the textbooks from the list, Petunia browsed through the aisles, her eyes wide with wonder at the magical titles. Harry then turned to his aunt. Auntie, how about you pick a few books? You can expand your knowledge about the magical world. Petunia, initially taken aback, responded, Isn't it forbidden? Harry shrugged, I don't think so. As long as you don't go out promoting it, it's just knowledge. Petunia's eyes lit up with excitement, and she began to peruse the aisles with even more enthusiasm than Harry. He watched her with a smile, pleased to see her taking an interest in his world. Their next stop was Madame Malkin's robes for all occasions. As they entered, the warm scent of fabric and magic greeted them. Madame Malkin, a plump, smiling witch, welcomed them. Here for Hogwarts robes, dear. She asked Harry. Yes, and I was thinking. Harry glanced at Petunia. Auntie, why don't you pick out something for yourself? Some of these clothes have magical properties like automatic mending and self-cleaning. Petunia, surprised by the suggestion, was initially hesitant but soon found herself intrigued by the idea. Madame Malkin enthusiastically showed her a selection of robes and cloaks that were practical yet stylish. Petunia tried on a sleek, midnight blue cloak. This one is charmed to stay dry in the rain, Madame Malkin explained. Petunia looked in the mirror, a hint of wonder in her eyes. It's beautiful, she murmured, a smile touching her lips. Harry looked at his aunt, adorned in the midnight blue cloak, and had to admit she looked quite striking. The magical garment accentuated her features, casting a soft glow on her face. Petunia, gazing at her reflection, seemed transformed, her usual stern demeanor softened by the elegance of the cloak. Madame Malkin, observing the positive change, chimed in with a warm smile. You look wonderful, dear. Magical clothing has a way of bringing out one's best. Petunia, slightly flushed with the compliment, turned to Harry. What do you think, Harry? Harry grinned. It suits you perfectly, Auntie. You should get it. Encouraged, Petunia decided to explore more. She tried on various robes and cloaks, each with its unique charm. Harry, meanwhile, was measured for his school robes. Madame Malkin expertly maneuvered around him with her measuring tape, noting down sizes and making occasional friendly remarks. Harry suggested Petunia try some everyday magical clothing. They're quite practical, Auntie. Some can adjust to your temperature, making them perfect for any weather. Petunia, intrigued, tried on a set of robes that changed color based on the light. She laughed, a rare sound, as the fabric shifted from a deep emerald to a light seafoam green. This is remarkable, she said, her eyes sparkling with a childlike wonder. As they continued trying on different outfits, Nigel's voice popped in Harry's head. I dare say, Master Harry, your aunt seems to be quite taken with the magical fashion. A stark contrast to her usual skepticism, wouldn't you agree? Harry chuckled silently at Nigel's observation, appreciating the irony. Madame Malkin then turned to Harry, and for you, dear. Standard. Harry shook his head. He had read enough to know that appearances mattered, especially in a world as nuanced as the magical one. I want them to be special, madam, he said politely. Madame Malkin's eyes twinkled with interest. Ah, looking for something a bit more unique. We can certainly do that. Harry explained his requirements. I'd like the fabric to be lightweight but durable. Something that can resist stains and damage. Oh, and if it could adjust to temperatures, that would be excellent. Madame Malkin nodded, jotting down notes. We have a wonderful material for that. Self-cleaning charms are quite standard, but I'll add a protective enchantment as well. It's handy for those unexpected magical mishaps. Petunia listened, her eyes wide with amazement at the sheer possibility of magical clothing. And, Harry added, could they resize themselves as I grow? I'd like them to last all through my years at Hogwarts. That's very practical, Madame Malkin commended, smiling. We'll use an adjustable charm. They'll grow with you and always fit perfectly. When Madame Malkin announced the price, Petunia's eyes widened in shock. Harry, isn't that a bit much? Harry chuckled. It's all right, Auntie. The uniforms can change size to fit, so I'll be able to use them for all 7 years at Hogwarts. It's a worthwhile investment. Petunia still seemed unsure, but she nodded, trusting Harry's judgment. Their next stop was the magical menagerie. As they entered, a cacophony of sounds greeted them, squawks, hisses, and an occasional roar. Harry was immediately drawn to a corner where a group of magical creatures huddled together. Look at these, Auntie, Harry said, pointing at a small, furry creature with large eyes. Nifflers. They're attracted to shiny things. Petunia leaned in, her expression softening. They're quite cute, aren't they? Suddenly, Nigel's voice echoed in Harry's mind. Appreciate cuteness, Master Harry, but remember, appearances can be deceiving, especially in the magical world. Harry suppressed a smile at Nigel's timely reminder and turned his attention to the other creatures. Harry's attention was drawn to the various creatures, each more fascinating than the last. Petunia, though initially hesitant, found herself charmed by the menagerie's inhabitants. An idea struck Harry. Auntie, would you like a pet? He asked, his eyes twinkling with mischief. Petunia was taken aback, her voice dropping to a whisper. Like, magical. Harry chuckled. Auntie, most of these are regular animals. The only magic in them is that they are smarter. Petunia's gaze swept the store. Indeed, aside from a slightly odd-looking snake, the owls and cats seemed much like their non-magical counterparts. Then, her eyes landed on an orange cat, lounging with a disdainful air. As she approached, the cat, named Crookshanks, raised its gaze to meet hers. The shopkeeper, noticing Petunia's interest, approached. That's Crookshanks. Been here a long time, but no one seems to want him, she said with a hint of sadness in her voice. Petunia's heart softened at the sight of the neglected creature. Is it, too magical? She inquired cautiously. The shopkeeper seemed surprised by the question but quickly smiled. You're in the Muggle world, aren't you? Don't worry, Crookshanks is half Kneasel but not magical in any other sense. He's very smart and independent, can learn things on his own, and has an ability to detect untrustworthy people. He'd be a great help in your daily life. Petunia's eyes lit up with interest as she stroked the cat's soft fur. She looked at Harry, seeking reassurance. Should I? Harry nodded encouragingly. You should, Auntie. Petunia smiled, deciding to adopt Crookshanks, who seemed to have already taken a liking to her. As they prepared to leave the shop, Harry's gaze fell upon the owls. It was time for him to choose a companion of his own. But there was a shop just for that. They next visited Elop's Owl Emporium, a shop filled with the soft hooting of owls. Harry was immediately drawn to a beautiful snow owl with pristine white feathers and piercing amber eyes. The owl turned its head to regard Harry with a curious gaze. This one's a beauty, remarked Nigel in Harry's mind, a fine choice for a Hogwarts student, I must say. Harry smiled inwardly at Nigel's comment, knowing the AI's penchant for understatement. He approached the snow owl, extending a hand. The owl hopped onto his arm, a sign of acceptance. I'll call you Hedwig, Harry decided, feeling an immediate bond with the majestic bird. With Crookshanks and Hedwig now part of their family, Harry and Petunia moved on to scribbleless writing instruments. The shop was a paradise for anyone who loved the written word, its shelves filled with parchment, quills, and bottles of ink in every color imaginable. Harry selected high-quality parchment and an assortment of quills. Petunia, curious about the magical writing instruments, picked up a self-inking quill, marveling at its convenience. Imagine how much easier this would make your bookkeeping, Harry suggested with a grin. Petunia laughed, admitting that some aspects of the magical world were indeed quite appealing. Their final stop was Ollivander's, the renowned wand shop. As they entered, the musty smell of wood and magic filled the air. Ollivander's wand shop, renowned for its unmatched collection of wands, was an essential stop for any young wizard embarking on their magical education. As Harry and Petunia entered, the bell above the door chimed, echoing in the quiet, narrow shop lined with countless wand boxes. They initially saw no one, the shop seemingly empty, until a voice suddenly echoed from behind them. Welcome, Mr. Ollivander appeared as if from nowhere, startling both Harry and Petunia. His sharp gaze locked onto Harry, recognition flashing in his eyes. Then, turning to Petunia, he said, I recognize you but cannot match you with any wand. How interesting. Petunia nodded, a hint of nostalgia in her voice. Hello, Mr. Ollivander. I'm Petunia Evans. I came here years ago with my sister Lily for her wand. Mr. Ollivander's eyes sparkled with recollection. Ah, yes, that does bring back memories, he said, his gaze lingering on Petunia for a moment before turning to Harry. Now, Mr. Potter, let us find your destined wand. Harry, with a curious tilt of his head, asked, how will we do that? Mr. Ollivander smiled enigmatically. The wand chooses the wizard, Mr. Potter. That much has always been clear to those of us who have studied wand lore. These connections are complex. An initial attraction, and then a mutual quest for experience, the wand learning from the wizard from the wand. Ollivander then pulled out a measuring tape and asked Harry, your main hand. Harry extended his right hand. The measuring tape, seemingly alive, began to measure his hand, arm, fingertip to shoulder, and fingertip to fingertip. Now, let's find the perfect wand for you, said Mr. Ollivander, turning to his vast collection. He handed Harry a wand, introducing it with a flourish. Try this one. Ash wood, 12 inches, dragon heartstring core. Good for spells of great strength. Harry took the wand, giving it a wave. A vase on a nearby shelf shattered. Mr. Ollivander promptly took it back, muttering to himself before selecting another. This one is birch, 10.5 inches, unicorn hair core. Excellent for charm work. Harry tried it, but upon waving, a gust of wind swept through the shop, scattering papers everywhere. Several more wands followed, each introduced by Mr. Ollivander with details of its make, length, and core. Some wands were unresponsive, while others produced minor magical mishaps, none feeling quite right in Harry's hand. He could see Nigel's smirk in his mind's eye, the AI's voice tinged with amusement at the situation. Quite the picky wand, or perhaps, picky wizard, Master Harry. After several unsuccessful attempts, Mr. Ollivander paused, his expression contemplative. Can it really be? He whispered to himself before disappearing into the back of the shop. He returned with a wand that seemed to hum with energy. 11 inches long, made of holly, and possesses a phoenix feather core. Harry's eyes widened as he felt a warm sensation upon grasping the wand. He gave it a wave, and bright red and gold sparks shot out of it, illuminating the shop. Petunia clapped her hands, delighted at the display. Curious, very curious, murmured Ollivander, peering closely at Harry. I remember every wand I've ever sold, Mr. Potter. It's curious that you should be destined for this wand when its brother gave you that scar. Harry felt a chill run down his spine at those words, his mind racing with questions. Nigel, sensing Harry's unease, added, a twist of fate, Master Harry. The wand chooses the wizard, and it seems this one has chosen you for a reason. After selecting his wand, a sense of fulfillment and anticipation washed over Harry. With the day's successful foray into the magical world drawing to a close, he decided to end it with a pleasant meal. Accompanied by Misty, the Potter family house elf, Harry and Petunia ventured into a quaint restaurant that served both magical and non-magical cuisine. Misty, with her typical house elf demeanor, was eager to serve Harry and Petunia. Her speech, characterized by its broken structure and high-pitched tone, was endearing to Harry, who had quickly grown fond of her. Misty can cook for Master Harry and Mistress Petunia, but Misty also likes to try new foods, she said, her large eyes glancing around the restaurant curiously. Petunia, still adjusting to the magical elements of the world, watched Misty with a mix of fascination and bemusement. It's quite all right, Misty. Let's all enjoy a meal together, she said, her voice softer than usual. As they settled at a table, Nigel's voice chimed in Harry's mind, dining with a house elf and a muggle in a wizarding restaurant. How very cosmopolitan of you, Master Harry. Harry suppressed a chuckle. It's a new experience for all of us, Nigel, he replied silently. The restaurant was a cozy establishment, with a warm ambiance that blended elements from both magical and non-magical worlds. The menu was an intriguing mix of dishes, some familiar to Petunia and others completely foreign. Harry decided to order a variety of dishes for them to try. Let's have a bit of everything. I think it's a great way for Auntie Petunia to get a taste of the magical world, he suggested. Petunia, still wide-eyed at the magical displays around her, nodded in agreement. Yes, let's do that. It all looks so interesting. Misty, meanwhile, was visibly excited to be part of the dining experience. Misty will try what Master Harry recommends, she squeaked, her ears twitching in anticipation. Their meal turned out to be a delightful array of magical and non-magical cuisines. From the traditional roast beef that Petunia enjoyed to the more exotic fizzing whizbees that left them all giggling from the levitating sensation, the experience was a blend of comfort and wonder. As they dined, Harry took the opportunity to explain some of the magical aspects of their meal to Petunia, who listened with rapt attention. You see, Auntie, the magical world has its own unique ingredients and cooking methods, which can lead to some surprising effects, he explained, gesturing to a dish that emitted a soft glow. After their fulfilling experience at the restaurant, Harry prepared to return home with Aunt Petunia and Misty, their new house elf. Realizing that Misty had never been to Privet Drive, he instructed her to apparate there first to get a sense of the location before coming back for them. Before Misty disappeared with a soft pop, Harry turned to his aunt with a cautious tone. Auntie, apparating can be a bit, discomforting. It can make your stomach churn. Be prepared. Petunia, already apprehensive about the magical modes of transportation, nodded with a slightly pale face, her anxiety evident. I'll try my best, Harry, she said, a nervous tremor in her voice. While waiting for Misty's return, Harry noticed the curious glances from other patrons. Quite the spectacle we are, aren't we? Nigel commented dryly in Harry's mind, his words laced with his characteristic humor. Harry smirked inwardly, replying silently, only if they knew who we were, Nigel. Misty returned shortly, announcing her presence with a cheerful, Misty is back. Misty found Master Harry's house. Her speech added a layer of excitement to her words. Harry smiled reassuringly at Petunia. Ready, Auntie. Taking a deep breath, Petunia nodded, and both she and Harry each took one of Misty's hands. Misty's eyes sparkled as she prepared to apparate them. Here we go, Misty squeaked, and with a slight twist and a sensation of being squeezed through a tight tube, they were whisked away. The world spun around them in a dizzying blur of colors and sensations. Petunia's grip on Misty tightened, her knuckles turning white. Harry, experiencing apparition for the first time, felt a peculiar sensation in his stomach, as if he were on a roller coaster with no sense of up or down. Nigel's voice echoed in his mind, brace yourself, Master Harry. It's quite the tumble through space and time. As quickly as it had begun, the sensation ended, and they found themselves standing in their house. Petunia stumbled slightly, looking a bit green, but she managed to compose herself quickly. That was something, she said, her voice shaky. Harry chuckled, feeling a bit queasy himself but exhilarated by the experience. It's faster than Muggle transportation, at least. Misty beamed with pride at successfully bringing them home. Misty did good. You did great, Misty, Harry assured her, patting her head gently. Harry turned to Misty, his tone firm yet kind. Welcome to your new home, Misty. While I'm at Hogwarts, you'll stay here with Auntie. You two take care of each other, okay? Misty's large eyes shimmered with excitement. Misty will take care of Master Harry's home, she replied, her voice filled with a sense of purpose. Harry nodded approvingly and continued, now, let's establish some rules, Misty. The elf's expression turned serious, her ears perking up in attention. Under no circumstances are you allowed to hurt yourself, no matter how bad you think you did, Harry said, recalling Nigel's advice about house elf welfare. He knew their tendency for self-punishment and wanted to ensure Misty's well-being. Misty's face contorted in confusion and sadness. Master Harry, she started to protest, but Harry was firm. This is an order, he asserted, leaving no room for argument. Misty's ears drooped, a sign of her acquiescence. Misty will do as Master Harry says, she murmured. Harry then addressed a more delicate topic. Now, about your clothing, he began, but Misty's reaction was immediate and emotional. Master Harry wants to free Misty. Misty is a bad elf, she wailed, tears forming in her eyes. Harry quickly interjected, stop, Misty. I don't want to free you. The elf paused, her crying ceasing abruptly. Really? She asked, a glimmer of hope in her voice. Really, Harry sighed, but I want you to dress nicely. Take this gold, he said, handing her a small pouch, and go to Madame Malkin. Have her make clothes for you. Don't worry about the cost. Make sure your clothing represents me. Misty, now understanding Harry's intentions, nodded vigorously. Misty will do, she said, her tone filled with renewed determination. Good, Harry said, feeling relieved. Lastly, this is a Muggle neighborhood. No one should see you or your magic. Understand? Misty nodded once more, her expression serious. Misty understands, Master Harry. With the rules established, Harry turned his attention to his Aunt Petunia. Auntie, Misty will be here while I'm at Hogwarts. She's a great help and can do many things. Just try not to be surprised by her magic. Petunia, still adjusting to the magical elements in her life, gave a hesitant nod while feeling a pang of excitement. I'll try, Harry, it's all still a bit overwhelming. Harry smiled reassuringly. You'll get used to it, Auntie. Misty is very kind and helpful. Withdrawing to his room after the eventful day, Harry felt a sense of contentment. It was here, in the quiet solitude of his new room, that Harry's thoughts turned to making it more suitable for his needs. Misty, he called softly, and with a faint pop, the house elf appeared, her eyes wide and eager. Yes, Master Harry, how can Misty help? Harry surveyed the room thoughtfully. It was decent in size, but he needed more space, especially for his magical experiments in the virtual room. Misty, see that wall? He pointed to the adjacent wall, behind which lay an unused room. I want you to create a door there. We're going to expand this room. Misty's eyes sparkled with understanding. Misty can do that, and with a snap of her fingers, the once solid wall miraculously sprouted a door, seamlessly integrated as if it had always been there. Harry peered through the new doorway, nodding in approval. Now, Misty, I need you to expand both this room and the one next door. Make them larger on the inside but keep the house looking the same from the outside. Oh, and add proper ventilation, please. Right away, Master Harry, Misty said, her voice tinged with excitement. With a series of deft snaps, the rooms began to reshape themselves. The walls stretched and shifted, the space expanding in a mesmerizing dance of magic. The air in the room shifted too, as a new ventilation system appeared, ensuring fresh air would circulate efficiently. Harry watched in awe. The rooms now looked twice their original size, yet from the outside, the house remained unchanged. It was a perfect example of the ingenious magic house elves were capable of. Nigel's voice chimed in Harry's mind, his tone reflective of his usual deadpan humor. Expanding rooms without altering the external architecture. Quite the spatial conundrum you've solved there, Master Harry. I dare say, Hogwarts could use your ingenuity in their next renovation. Harry couldn't help but chuckle at Nigel's comment. Just making use of the resources we have, Nigel. Besides, it's nice to have a bit more room to breathe, don't you think? Indeed, Master Harry, a little breathing room is always welcome, especially when one's preparing for the unpredictable world of Hogwarts. You might find the extra space useful for, say, practicing your potion training. Nigel suggested, the subtle inflection in his voice hinting at his ever-present wit. Exactly my thought, Harry replied, already envisioning how he would use the expanded space. I'll set up one room as a study and practice area. The other can be a sort of workshop for my potion making and other experiments. Might I suggest, Master Harry, considering the acoustics of the room for your potential nocturnal magical endeavors? Wouldn't want to wake dear Aunt Petunia with any accidental magical outbursts, Nigel added, his tone laced with a hint of sarcasm. Good point, Nigel. Misty, can you add some soundproofing to these rooms? Harry asked the house elf, who nodded enthusiastically. Of course, Master Harry. Misty, make rooms very quiet, she replied, and with another series of snaps, the walls were imbued with a subtle charm, ensuring that no sound would escape the confines of these newly created spaces. With the physical modifications complete, Harry's thoughts turned to the decor. Misty, let's furnish these rooms. I want a large desk, shelves for books, and cabinets for potion ingredients and other magical artifacts. And in the workshop, I'll need a sturdy workbench and plenty of storage. Misty's eyes widened with delight at the prospect of decorating. Misty, make it look nice for Master Harry. Harry smiled. I trust your taste, Misty. Just remember, it needs to be functional for magical work. As Misty busied herself with the task, Harry considered the new possibilities these rooms opened up. The study would be his sanctuary for learning and refining his magical skills, a place where he could delve into hardback books for a change. The workshop, on the other hand, would be a haven for practical application, where he could experiment and innovate, crafting potions and magical items. Misty's doing a fine job, isn't she? Harry commented to Nigel, watching the house elf move around with purpose. Indeed, Master Harry, your house elf possesses a rather commendable work ethic. One might say she's as diligent in her duties as you are in your magical pursuits, Nigel observed, his voice tinged with a hint of respect. Harry carefully placed the cauldrons he had purchased earlier in his newly set up potion room. The room, now spacious and soundproofed, was perfect for his magical pursuits. As he arranged the cauldrons on the sturdy workbench, he pondered aloud, Nigel, do you think I should buy another set of cauldrons for Hogwarts, or should I bring these along? And there's the mansion in the suitcase too, I wonder if it has its own potion room. Nigel's voice, ever present in his mind, responded, an intriguing dilemma, Master Harry. It might be prudent to have a separate set for Hogwarts. After all, carrying cauldrons back and forth could become quite the cumbersome task, and you wouldn't want to risk damaging your new acquisitions. As for the mansion in the suitcase, it's quite possible it houses a potion room, given the extent of its enchantments. Harry nodded in agreement. Good point. I'll see about getting another set for Hogwarts then. For now, I want to check out the items I collected from the Potter Vault. There's so much to explore. Harry, settled in his expanded and newly furnished room, called for Misty, his loyal house elf. Misty, take this money and go to Diagon Alley first thing in the morning. See Madame Malkin for your clothes and buy me another set of cauldrons and ingredients, please. Also, furnish the room as you like. He handed her a pouch of gold, his instructions clear and concise. Misty's eyes sparkled with determination as she accepted the task. Misty will do her best, she said, her voice tinged with excitement, before disappearing with a soft pop. Left alone, Harry sat on his bed and began examining the items he had acquired from the Potter Vault. One by one, he took them out, activating the observe function of his technology system to learn more about their properties and histories. Harry carefully took out the first item from his inventory, the silver goblet with poison detection. Its surface gleamed under the dim light of his room, the runes etched into it pulsating faintly. Let's start with this one, Nigel. Observe, Harry said, activating the system's function. System message. Observing silver goblet with poison detection. The goblet, an elegantly crafted piece of silverware, was designed to detect any type of poison. When a poisonous substance was poured into it, the goblet would change color and emit a soft glow, a practical tool for ensuring the safety of any drink, especially in treacherous situations. Quite handy for those unexpected dinner invitations in the wizarding world, Nigel quipped in Harry's mind. Harry chuckled. Indeed, better safe than sorry. Next, he pulled out the enchanted mirror for distant viewing. The golden frame was embedded with magical crystals, and the mirror itself had a certain depth to it that seemed almost infinite. System message. Observing enchanted mirror for distant viewing. The mirror allowed the user to view distant places or people by speaking their name or location. However, it had its limitations. The viewing was restricted to places and people the mirror had seen before. Highly secure locations might be obscured or unviewable. A bit like a magical surveillance camera, only with a historical twist, Harry mused. Nigel's voice followed. Indeed, Master Harry. Just don't expect it to reveal the deepest secrets of the ministry. Harry then examined the magical compass, its dragon hide cover and glowing dial a testament to the craftsmanship of its maker. System message. Observing magical compass. The compass pointed not only to magnetic north but also to locations or objects of magical significance when requested. It could even be attuned to search for specific magical signatures or anomalies. A navigator's dream, Harry commented, thinking of its potential uses in his future adventures. Nigel added, and a treasure hunter's best friend, I dare say. The enchanted chess set was next, its ebony and ivory pieces animated with intelligence. The set adapted to the player's skill level, providing a challenging and educational experience. System message. Observing enchanted chess set. Harry admired the craftsmanship. This could really sharpen my strategic thinking. Nigel's response was quick. Ah, a battle of wits in miniature form. Quite the cerebral exercise, Master Harry. Harry carefully picked up the time turner next, its delicate hourglass pendant filled with swirling, silvery sand. System message. Observing time turner. The time turner allowed the wearer to reverse time for short durations, but it came with a warning. It should be used with extreme caution due to the potential for causing paradoxes or altering events in unforeseeable ways. A powerful tool, but one that comes with great responsibility, Harry reflected. Indeed, Nigel agreed. Tampering with time is a risky business. The invisibility ring was simple in design, yet its function was anything but. The transparent gemstone on the silver band had the power to render the wearer invisible, though not perfectly. System message. Observing invisibility ring. Harry turned the ring over in his hands. Useful for stealth, but all need to be careful. Stealth with style, Nigel noted. But remember, even the invisible can sometimes be seen. The phoenix feather quill was next, vibrant and elegant. System message. Observing phoenix feather quill. It wrote with magical ink that could appear or disappear at the user's command, ideal for confidential notes or keeping a private journal. A quill that keeps secrets, Harry said, intrigued by the concept. Ah, the writer's clandestine companion, Nigel added. Harry then examined the goblet of fiery flames. System message. Observing goblet of fiery flames. This ancient goblet could conjure violet flames cold to the touch but capable of burning through most magical barriers and substances. A tool for breaking through barriers, both literal and magical, Harry noted. Nigel remarked, a fiery solution to icy problems, perhaps. The crystal ball of true seeing was set on a stand of intertwining silver branches, its surface clear and unblemished. System message. Observing crystal ball of true seeing. It was said to reveal truths, future events, or hidden things to those with strong intuitive powers or the gift of sight. A glimpse into the unknown, Harry whispered, fascinated by the ball's depths. A seer's enigma, Nigel mused. But remember, the future is always in motion. The potion of eternal vigor shimmered with energy in its vial. System message. Observing potion of eternal vigor. It enhanced physical and magical stamina temporarily, but overuse could lead to exhaustion or adverse magical effects. A potion for critical moments, Harry concluded. A double-edged elixir, Nigel cautioned. Use it wisely. Harry then opened the Book of Ancient Runes, its dragonhide cover worn but resilient. System message. Observing Book of Ancient Runes. It contained extensive knowledge of ancient runes, their applications, and magical properties. A treasure trove of forgotten knowledge, Harry said, eager to delve into its pages. Runes hold the keys to many doors, Nigel observed. The potion recipe book of legendary brews had an ethereal quality to its pages. System message. Observing potion recipe book of legendary brews. It contained detailed recipes for potions lost to time, each with powerful and rare effects. A book of lost arts, Harry said, intrigued by the possibilities. And a potioneer's dream, Nigel added. Finally, Harry examined the dagger of Serpent's Fang. Its blade, infused with basilisk venom, was highly effective against dark creatures and capable of penetrating magical barriers. System message. Observing dagger of Serpent's Fang. This could be a valuable tool in defense against dark arts, Harry noted. Indeed, Master Harry, a potent weapon, both in symbolism and utility, Nigel concurred. As Harry finished examining the artifacts, he felt a profound connection to his family's history. Each item, a piece of history, a testament to the Potter family's role in the magical world. He felt a sense of pride and responsibility, knowing that he was now a custodian of these treasures. Quite the collection we have here, Master Harry, Nigel said, his voice reflecting a hint of awe. Harry then pulled out the last, but arguably the most important item from his collection, the Enchanted Haven briefcase. At first glance, the briefcase appeared as a miniature, palm-sized piece, exquisitely crafted with intricate details that hinted at its ancient origin. Its exterior, made of rich, dark wood and adorned with subtle, shimmering runes, exuded a sense of timelessness and concealed power. The briefcase's clasps, forged from an unknown but radiant metal, seemed to beckon Harry to discover its secrets. With a sense of anticipation, Harry uttered the password, Potter's Haven. The briefcase responded immediately, expanding rapidly until it was the size of a full-sized door. Harry stepped forward, opening it to reveal a world within that defied all expectations. The first thing that struck him was the sheer size of the interior space. It was as if he had stepped into another realm entirely. The entrance led to a grand hall, its ceiling enchanted to mirror the sky outside, giving the illusion of being in an open courtyard. The floors were adorned with elegant, mosaic tiles that gleamed under the enchanted light, and the walls were lined with portraits of past potters, their eyes following Harry with curiosity. As Harry walked through the mansion, he found himself in awe of its architectural beauty. The library was his first stop. Towering shelves filled with ancient tomes and scrolls stretched up to the high ceiling, with magical ladders gliding silently along the rows of books. Some of the books were so old that Harry wondered if they contained knowledge long forgotten by the modern wizarding world. Next was the potion lab. It was a potion master's dream, equipped with everything Harry could possibly need. Rare ingredients, some of which Harry had only read about, were stored in magically preserved containers. The brewing stations were advanced, with cauldrons that seemed to adjust their temperature automatically. The dining hall was no less impressive. An enchanted table capable of serving a variety of dishes sat in the center, surrounded by chairs that adjusted to the sitter's size. The walls were adorned with tapestries depicting historical events from the wizarding world, each moving as if alive. The bedrooms were numerous, each uniquely decorated and enchanted for comfort. Harry peeked into one and found that the room had already adjusted to his preferences, the bed looking particularly inviting after his long day. The gardens surrounding the mansion were a haven of tranquility. Magical plants and flowers bloomed in vibrant colors, their fragrances filling the air. Some plants moved gently, as if dancing to a silent tune, while others seemed to watch Harry curiously as he passed by. The observatory was a testament to the Potter family's interest in the broader universe. Telescopes of all sizes were pointed at the sky, enchanted for viewing distant galaxies and magical phenomena. Harry made a mental note to spend some nights exploring the stars. He was doubtful of how he could observe stars in this artificial sky, but observe prompted him that it allowed him to see through the briefcase and see the real celestial bodies. Perhaps the most intriguing was the dueling room. It was a large, open space with magically reinforced walls. Harry could already envision practicing spells and dueling tactics here without any risk of damaging the mansion. Hidden chambers and secret passages were scattered throughout the mansion, each holding artifacts and treasures from different eras. Harry felt like he had just scratched the surface of what this magical haven had to offer. The briefcase's special features were not just limited to its physical spaces. The magical protection around the mansion and forest was palpable, ensuring absolute privacy and safety. The adaptive architecture allowed the mansion to change according to Harry's needs, and the temporal stability meant he could keep his ingredients here without worrying about them going bad. The potion room, frozen in time, ensured that no ingredient ever went bad, a feature that Harry found particularly useful. As Harry explored each room, he couldn't help but feel a deep connection to his family's legacy. This briefcase was not just a collection of rooms and artifacts, it was a living history of the Potter family, a testament to their role in the magical world. He felt a mix of pride and responsibility, knowing he was now the custodian of such an invaluable heritage. Nigel's added as he explored the mansion. Master Harry, this briefcase is a treasure trove of possibilities. Think of the knowledge and secrets it holds, just waiting to be uncovered, Nigel remarked. Harry nodded. It's incredible, Nigel. It's not just a place for me to learn and grow but also a sanctuary where I can find peace and rejuvenate. Harry stepped out of the mansion and into the forest, a part of the magical world contained within the enchanted haven briefcase. He paused, taking in the symphony of sounds around him. Birds chirped melodically, leaves rustled gently in the wind, and in the distance, he could hear the soft gurgle of a stream. Thousands of years, he whispered to himself, I wonder what kind of creatures live here. As he ventured deeper, the forest revealed its secrets. Trees of ancient lineage towered above, their branches woven into a natural cathedral. Sunlight filtered through the leaves, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. Every step Harry took seemed to awaken the forest, with small creatures peeking out from their hiding spots to observe this new visitor. Quite the ecosystem you have here, Master Harry, Nigel's voice echoed in Harry's mind. A veritable sanctuary for magical creatures, no doubt. Just be mindful, some of them might not be as welcoming as others. Harry chuckled softly. I'll keep that in mind, Nigel. His steps were cautious yet filled with curiosity as he explored the diverse flora and fauna. Some of the plants reacted to his presence, their leaves turning towards him as if sensing his magical aura. As he walked, Harry noticed a clearing ahead. In the center stood a magnificent tree, its bark shimmering with a silvery glow. Around it, a variety of magical creatures gathered, as if paying homage to this ancient sentinel of the forest. A gathering of the magical kind, it seems, Nigel observed. That tree appears to be a focal point of magical energy. Quite intriguing. Approaching the tree, Harry could feel a surge of magical energy emanating from it. The creatures around him seemed to regard him with curiosity rather than fear. A small, dragon-like creature with iridescent scales approached him, its eyes gleaming with intelligence. Harry extended his hand, allowing it to sniff him. To his surprise, the creature nuzzled against his palm, a gesture of acceptance. Seems you've made a friend, Master Harry, Nigel remarked. These creatures are quite adept at sensing one's intent. You must exude a trustworthy aura. Harry smiled, gently stroking the creature. I guess I do, he said. This place is incredible, it's like stepping into a different world. Continuing his exploration, Harry came across a serene pond. Its crystal clear water mirrored the sky above, and magical fish darted beneath its surface. The tranquility of the scene was almost tangible, and Harry took a moment to sit by the water's edge, letting the peacefulness of the environment wash over him. An ideal spot for reflection, both literal and metaphorical, Nigel noted. One could spend hours here, contemplating the mysteries of the magical world. As the sun began to set, casting a golden hue over the forest, Harry decided to return to the mansion. The briefcase's world had so much to offer, and he knew he would be spending many more hours exploring and learning from it. Back in the mansion, Harry found himself in the library once again. The shelves were lined with books that held the knowledge of ages, and he felt a surge of excitement at the prospect of delving into them. His fingers traced the spines of the books, each title promising new insights and discoveries. This library is a treasure trove of knowledge, Master Harry, Nigel said. The histories and secrets contained within these books could provide invaluable insights for your magical education. Harry nodded, pulling out a tome titled The Lore of Ancient Magical Creatures. As he flipped through the pages, his eyes widened in wonder at the illustrations and descriptions of creatures he had never heard of. An excellent choice, Nigel commented. Understanding the magical creatures of the past might shed light on those you encounter in the present. Harry spent the next hour immersed in the book, his mind absorbing the information like a sponge. He made mental notes of creatures he hoped to encounter and study in the future. As he closed the book, Harry felt a sense of fulfillment. The briefcase had opened up a world of possibilities, and he was eager to explore each one. He stood up, stretching his arms above his head. Time to head back to the real world, he said, a hint of reluctance in his voice. Indeed, Master Harry, Nigel replied. But remember, this world within a world will always be here, waiting for your return. With that, Harry stepped out of the mansion, shrinking the briefcase back to its original size. He placed it safely in his pocket, a small reminder of the vast world that lay within. Harry finally took out his new wand, which he had acquired from Ollivander's. It was a unique piece, and he felt an immediate connection to it. As he held the wand, he activated the observe function of his technology system. System message. Observing wand. The wand was made of holly, a wood known for its protective properties. It measured 11 inches, a comfortable length for precise spellcasting. The core contained a phoenix feather, a rare and powerful ingredient that resonated with Harry's magical potential. This combination made the wand particularly effective for spells requiring great emotional strength and moral fortitude. It was also excellent for defensive magic, a trait Harry found very appealing given his growing interest in the dark arts defense. What did Mr. Ollivander mean, Nigel, about this being brother to one who gave me the scar? Harry inquired, his brow furrowed in confusion. Nigel sighed in Harry's mind, a sound that carried a weight of solemnity. I wanted you to learn this later, but it seems the time has come, I suppose. Harry braced himself for what he suspected would be a significant revelation. Master Harry, the wand that inflicted the curse upon you as a baby belonged to Voldemort, Nigel began. Voldemort is a dark wizard of immense power and malevolence. He rose to power with a singular, obsessive goal, to purify the wizarding world and establish his reign over both magical and non-magical folks. Harry listened intently, a sense of dread building within him. Your parents, Lily and James Potter, were members of the Order of the Phoenix, an organization opposing Voldemort. They fought valiantly against him and his followers, the Death Eaters. Unfortunately, Voldemort targeted your family, believing a prophecy that spoke of a child with the power to defeat him. That child was you, Master Harry. Harry's hand trembled slightly as he processed this information. On that fateful night, Voldemort came to your home in Godric's Hollow. He murdered your parents, but, when he tried to kill you, something extraordinary happened. The curse rebounded upon him, leaving you with just a scar. Voldemort was vanquished, at least temporarily, his power broken. This event made you famous in the wizarding world, Master Harry. You became known as the boy who lived. Harry was silent, the magnitude of Nigel's words sinking in. As for the wand, Nigel continued, it's curious how these things turn out. The phoenix whose feather resides in your wand gave another feather, just one other, the one in Voldemort's wand. They are, in a sense, brothers. It's a connection that is rare and, frankly, quite ominous. Harry looked at the wand, his feelings a complex tapestry of fear, curiosity, and a newfound sense of responsibility. Now, about your scar, Nigel spoke gently. It's not just a mark, Harry. It's a symbol of your survival, a testament to your strength. However, it also draws attention, some of which could be dangerous. That's why I advised you to hide it. There are those who might seek to harm you or exploit your fame for their ends. Harry nodded, understanding the wisdom in Nigel's advice. The path ahead is fraught with challenges, Master Harry. But remember, you have strengths that few possess, your innate magical talent, your ability to love, and your courage. These will be your greatest weapons against the darkness that lies ahead. Harry felt a sense of determination settle within him. Thank you, Nigel. I know it won't be easy, but I'm ready to face whatever comes. I won't let my parents' sacrifices be in vain. Very well said, Master Harry, Nigel replied, his tone carrying a hint of pride. And remember, you're not alone. I'm here to guide you, provide information, and perhaps a bit of dry wit to lighten the darker moments. Harry couldn't help but smile, despite the heavy conversation. Nigel's presence was indeed a comfort, a beacon of guidance in the uncharted waters of his destiny. Harry then pondered the unsettling truth that Voldemort, the dark wizard responsible for his parents' deaths and his own near-fatal encounter as a baby, might still be alive. This revelation, coupled with the connection of their wands, added a new layer of complexity to his already extraordinary life. I have a feeling the other competitor to the Slytherin and Peverell vaults is Voldemort, right? Then is he not dead? Harry inquired, his voice laced with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. Nigel, ever the repository of knowledge and wisdom, responded thoughtfully, "It is believed Voldemort is still alive." "How? I don't know. If you like, I can use system points to search for answers, but it will require more than you currently have to even begin scratching the surface." Harry nodded in understanding. The enigma of Voldemort's survival was a puzzle for another day. "Time will tell," he murmured, more to himself than to Nigel. "It is late, time to sleep, Master Harry," Nigel suggested, his voice carrying the subtle undertone of concern that had become familiar to Harry. "Good night, Nigel," Harry replied, feeling the weight of the day's revelations. "Good night, Master Harry," Nigel responded, his presence in Harry's mind a constant reminder of the extraordinary path that lay ahead.